We're going to crack on with a song from the album called Obnoxious. Close your mind to controversy!
Ob- it's from the album Obnoxious. I Acid Rain, man, like classic thrash punk British metal, like amazing stuff. Like I remember, like I hate it when I say that, or like when I go when I'm trying to find a thing, and then like when I'm those like my nuances, like I mean like my tells when I'm trying to think, and I mumble, and I do it a lot. I used to do that a lot when I was on live radio, and like I got told off, or not really told off. I was like, "Hey, I think you should record yourself and listen to yourself," and I did, and I was like, so I'm trying to get out of that at the moment. So welcome to the stream. Hello, especially to my moderator, Nathaniel Mars. Is it streaming from Mars, broadcasting from Mars? I cannot remember. How you doing, bud? Hey, I messaged him last night saying, "Are you still streaming?" The reason I asked that was because I wanted to do like a metal streaming thing. Like, what's your favorite metal, or whatever album, and let's talk about that album only for that time being, and everything you know about it or you don't know about it, and we can find out about it. That was something that I've been thinking about doing. I was going to do that with a with a death metal singer friend of mine before he started his own stream, which is very, very full on, really awesome. Not stream, what is it called? Podcast. And so I thought that was pretty really cool. But then I was like, yeah, don't have time for that. By the way, welcome to the stream. This is a crazy one. Like this is like really, really sad, really weird. I when you tell people, look, something's gonna happen, the community's telling you something's gonna happen if you don't watch yourself, leave, right? Leave. Like just go away from here and protect yourself. And you ignore it over and over again, right? And you place yourself in danger. And now, not only are you a moron for placing yourself in danger against warnings from people who watch you, people in your family, people around you in the village that you're living in as a foreigner, telling you people are going to kidnap you. And yeah, people are going to kidnap you. Please leave. And then you don't. And then you tell everybody, oh, you know what? I am afraid for my life, guys. What should I do? Or like, if I, and then later go, uh, yeah, but if I had to do it again, I wouldn't do it again. Then even with that, why don't you just leave? And so that's the takeaway from today's stream, and that'll be later on. As you know, I've realized how I do the stream. It takes me a while for my brain to realize what I'm actually going. So the first part of the stream is always going to be about me catching you guys up about what we've covered, updates on it, and also some more other news as it comes. Now, the reason I did this today, the stream today rather than later, and I wasn't even thinking about it because latest news came out after a month of me first learning about this dude named Elliot, right, Eastman from Vermont, America. All right, I don't even know where Vermont is. And by the way, you're welcome, Nathaniel. You deserve it, man. Like seriously, you're the first ranch guy. I trust you, right? And so wherever you guys are watching, thank you for coming over and watching the show. I know there's a billion others, thousands of others who do what I do, and I appreciate you. And I'm being honest about that. Like, you know, it's there's I watch just as many streams as probably you guys do, right? Because I'm constantly watching stuff while I'm working on my comic books, while I'm lettering, while I'm designing, when I'm doing logos, right? Like this silly thing just before I came on, I was doing this. Let's get on with the show, right? Uh, Vermont is north. Uh, Vermont is northeast USA. North, so northeast, right? So okay. So looking straight at the map is to my right hand. Awesome. We'll find out more, right? So let's get some updates starting out. Let me get you some. I'm getting like a million Skype messages all at once. I'll check that in a minute while we watch this. So, um, here's a crazy one. China, where all the crazy things happen when you've been brainwashed into extreme patriotism and xenophobia, where your leaders are so rich that they tell you it's okay for you to be poor, to have no rights, right? They're so powerful, I should say, and they've taken everything from you, even your speech, even you complaining about your, and this is the latest I saw on this China show just before coming on, and that you can't even complain in a hospital about a unqualified doctor giving your sister an injection that puts her into a coma and ends up later killing her. And then you go and say someone needs to take ownership over this, and they put black wall, like cardboard walls over it. What if you saw my post on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter, right? If you're there, we'll be looking at some Twitter posts soon in Japan and so on. Now, sorry, I think it's in North Korea, right? Foreigners in North Korea. So one of the things is like, they have this wall called like, this basically a huge black cardboard, and they walk around with it to block out people from saying or being seen, right? Because they don't want you to speak out. So check this dude out, so brainwashed into xenophobia and patriotism for a tech company, a mobile tech company. Imagine, I know there are some AI bros, right? And I used to kind of an AI bro, Mac all the time, all day long, but not crazy nutcase. So this is the latest. Like this just came out. Like what was it like about 6 hours ago?
In Zhengzhou, Henan, a young man had just undergone a gastroscopy, and after being put under general anesthesia, he became disoriented. While lying in his hospital bed, he repeatedly shouted, "Huawei Mate 60 Pro is leading the way." This moment was recorded by his friend and quickly went viral online. His friend mentioned that he is a hardcore Huawei fan, and when he gained consciousness, he had no memory of what he had said. Netizens commented, saying that Huawei's latest promotion is really spot on, with many joking that the company should definitely arrange for him to receive a Mate 60 Pro. A recent survey on China's technological innovation has confirmed what many have suspected. The people who often shout online that China is leading the way are actually far from the decision-making elites. They tend to be from lower income, lower educational backgrounds. This includes teachers and students from primary and secondary schools. They are the main supporters of China's claims to technological superiority. When these groups found out that their views were not shared by society's intellectual elite and realized that they had been misled, it was as if their entire world had shattered. This survey, conducted by Renmin University, is particularly interesting. It involved from 341 cities across 31 provinces and regions, gathering over 3,000 responses.
So that's a pretty good, full-on survey, right? 341 cities, 31 provinces and regions, like states and so on, districts, and 3,000. And that's 3,000 people that were willing to do it, right? In China, I'm going to have to silence this, guys. Apologies for that. Like, I know it's annoying to me. I'm not sure if it's annoying to you. So let me just put the silly thing on silence mode. Sound off. There we go. So because like in China, not many people speak out because, like as I mentioned, when you do, they put a black board over you they try to drown you out. And the reason I talk about China and about communism, it's kind of like a warning to people who want communism, who want socialism in the West, because they haven't even studied or lived under it. They never look at history. What they know is what they've just been told by someone. I watched like pro Hamas and pro Hezbollah interviews with people from, like, there's a person, I think it was Yosef Hassad, right? He's Arab. And he was talking to this lady in New Zealand. I didn't even know she was from New Zealand, that she would think this, because she's never been to Israel, she's never been to Palestine, and saying like, well, how do you know it's an apartheid state? He asks her, right? Because she's there with her little friggin' flag and a stand. And she's like, oh, it's my opinion. It's like, what do you mean it's your opinion? Have you lived there? Do you know what the differences are? And she says, no, this sort of thing. It's like, but you haven't experienced it. You haven't researched this. Because yeah, but so you only know what you've been told. You haven't searched it out for yourself. And see, this is the whole aim of this channel, is to get you guys to think for yourself, right? To not trust what you hear, and not even from me. Like I say, not even from me. Do your own research, right? It's something that I've had to really think about in the last few years, especially with COVID, when they told you to think how to think about COVID, right? How to think about what is being told to you about other people, like politicians and stuff, right? But also what's been told to you about stars, singers, musicians, what's been told to you about actors, by people in the news, by people being cancelled. What are they, and stuff like that. So like, people can make up anything now, and AI is going to be like the damn us all, because with deep fakes, right? In Korea, they have a thing where like now they're putting in if you deep fake anybody, you could be arrested and go to jail or fined majorly. And one of the guys that we've talked about earlier, Johnny Somali, Ishmael Khalid Yusuf or somebody like that, right? I can't remember his real name, but Ismail, right? And Ishmael Khalid is his middle and last name. But he's tried to do that, like deep fake sex things, with a Korean podcaster that she was just hanging out with him, right, for the day, being nice. And then he deep faked her into like, you know, aggressive, making out with them and stuff. And she's like, we didn't do that. And now, he's got issues there. However, so with this, like I said, like, people in China aren't allowed to do certain things, but they'll do certain things outside of China, and we'll look at that as well.
The results revealed several clear patterns. The first key finding was that private entrepreneurs, university professors, and researchers were the most realistic. These people work with scientific research every day and are well aware of the gaps China still faces compared to the developed countries in many fields. For example, when asked about the gap between China and the US in AI, Sun, an academician at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, responded, "When ChatGPT first came out, people said the gap between China and the US was 2 to 3 times. We've caught up in the past 2 years, but the gap doesn't seem to have narrowed much." He added, "This is normal. After all, we're still behind in soccer." His point was that, still, it's a positive outcome. At least it's better than China's soccer team.
The thing is, like, they're behind 2 to 3 times, right? Which means like 2 to 3 decades, right? Or even like 2 to 3 years behind in technology. And where they are in technology is because of, where they are close in technology is because they've stolen tech and reverse engineered it, right?
Survey also found that unemployed or underemployed groups are more likely to believe national security should come before development. They argue that since China is already far ahead of the West, national security should be the top priority. According to the Ministry of Science and Technology, China has 6.35 million R&D workers, But more than 600 million people earn less than 1,000 yuan a month. This suggests that these 600 million people are mostly unaware of the true state of China's technological progress. In other words, the rational voices from China's elite are easily drowned out by the popular belief that China is leading the way. In a recent humorous moment, a farmer speaking in his local dialect confidently shared his thoughts on the international situation.
美国走下坡路，国力衰微。
The US is in decline, its national power is weakening, and it can no longer support Ukraine. Although it still supports Israel and has big ambitions to dominate the world, its economic power just can't keep up. Many people are terrified of the US in the face of their guns. This is pure ignorance. His analysis could easily compete with state-run news broadcasts. Another interesting finding is that bureaucratic elites, those working in government and state-run institutions, agree with private entrepreneurs on the importance of development. They understand that development must come first before national security can be discussed. These elites are fully aware of the gap between China and the West, but due to the current political climate, they remain silent. This silence further strengthens the illusion among the general public that China is leading the way. These elites may push for reforms when the opportunity comes.
So imagine living on $137 a month. US, right? So let's look at that in New Zealand dollars. So what is that in New Zealand dollars? NZ. Give me NZ dollars. So that's $235 a month. That equates to $235 a month, New Zealand. That doesn't even cover 1 week of rent for me. Right? Maybe 2 weeks of food, but I would even be able to afford in the apartment that I live in for $1,000, 1,000 yuan. Right? 1,000 yuan. That's Chinese money, right? Equates to $137.55. I think it's just ridiculous that at the bottom, this is what people are expected to live on. And you go, oh, yeah, it must be cheaper in that country. Yeah, but you still have to eat. You still have to, pay for everything, your medical bills, your doctor's bills, everything. No social services there. So now people are homeless. And they look at America and go, oh, your people are homeless there. And yet they ignore their own people. And then the worst thing about that is, then they throw all the money, take all the money that they do get out of their people, right, that they steal from their people, and they send it to South America, to China, to North Africa, South Africa, right? Well, not China, right? South America, Africa, North Africa, South Africa, for soft power, financial power thing. So it's interesting to see like their own people live in poverty in the lower bottom, right? Without any social things. Yet yeah, but let me bring you on. Hold on. Here's the invite link. I'm sorry, it's on the mobile. The mobile's not getting. So it'll be cool. Come on up, Louise. There's your link. So or anybody else who wants to talk, you don't have to come on face or anything. Let's have a call-in thing, right? So if you do want to come in and talk about what we're going to be talking about, like especially like tourism and stuff like that, right? And this sort of thing, and economy in your own country and stuff, that would be pretty cool. But it is really sad on the one hand, for China to accuse the West of being not looking after their own people, but then treat their own people worse because all their money is being used for propaganda, right? It's quite sad. So let me bring up this thing, what's happening in Africa, right? Where are you? Yeah. So here's the recent China Uncensored. I think it was like from earlier this week. Okay, let me take that off and let me bring this up, and we'll show you. This is China in South Africa, or in Africa, right? So, what are they up to in Africa? Actually, why haven't I not subscribed? Oh, that's because I'm on the other. I am on the other thing. Actually, might as well subscribe on that one. Okay, so and here's the thing. He's not the only one. They have a whole group of people that look into this. This is like a 2 million subscriber channel, right? It's not so people who watch this are not just dummies, right? They know exactly. This channel is in depth. It goes in depth, right? And there's about 7.9 people. This from 2 days ago. 7.9 thousand people have basically, understand what's going on there. And even like I've played videos from Africa taken by Africans talking about how they've been mistreated by Chinese managers and CEOs in their own country. They're basically treated like slaves. Yet China wants to convince the world and keep reminding the world that there is still slavery in America. All right. They want to say, well, the only thing I can think is that there is sex trafficking, sexual slavery. Yeah. And that's why they're trying to stop the border, right? To friggin' close the border because people are coming in undocumented, like a 2-year-old child, and children and women with no IDs, basically coming in and disappearing into the country. Tens of thousands. Where are they going? But so let's look at information. Like I've showed you guys from the African diaspora. There's a channel called African Diaspora that only looks at Black news, Black African news, Black American news, and African news all around the world.
The US and China are competing for Africa. African leaders love dealing with China.
Oh yeah. The other thing is, I'm not sure if it's going to mention it, but like if I can remember, Biden just gave millions of dollars to help in a hurricane effort in Africa, right? There's a place that there was a hurricane. Yet this dude only gave $795 to people in America. So Biden's government, the Democrats are behaving the same way the commie Chinese are behaving to their people. We will look after those people because that gives us power and makes it, because it serves us, our interest, if we look after that country rather than looking after our own people. Same thing with China, right? So that's the social mind, right? We need to show ourselves being good in your country because you have the resources for us. We already have our country, so we don't have to worry about if our country's, really doing really bad or if our people are doing really bad. Same thing, right? They were doing with Ukraine, right? We'll give all the money to Ukraine, billions, but we won't help, Hawaii, one of our states, right? We won't help, what was it like, Ohio, right? Please, just if you just look it up, all the disasters that happened while under Biden's administration and Kamala Harris's, right? And you'll see how much effort was put financially into American people's need compared to how much billions were given overseas.
But they may want to think twice before continuing. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Real quick, some big news. After a lot of hard work, we have officially launched our new premium website over at ChinaUncensored.tv. YouTube and now Patreon have been messing with our show. So the only way we can keep making China Uncensored is with your support on the premium website. I'll still be uploading the same amount of videos as usual to YouTube because I want as many people to know about China and the CCP as possible. And if you'd like to join me in that fight, Subscribe to the new website, and I'll give you exclusive premium episodes you won't see anywhere else. Website-only live streams, a way to chat directly with me and the team, and more. The link is below. With your help, we can keep China uncensored. Now on with the show. So, it's finally happening. In the 11th hour of his presidency, 2 years after U.S. President Joe Biden vowed to visit Africa, he is finally fulfilling his promise as the U.S. looks to counter China's deepening influence there. The trip will mark the first time a U.S.
By the way, it was under Biden's administration that that Africa turned against America and Obama, right? Because it was started with Obama, because Obama was basically just bombing North Africa, the president of drone bombing, right? Obama.
U.S. president has visited sub-Saharan Africa since 2015, and the first time ever that a U.S. president has visited the country of Angola. When it comes to Africa, the U.S. is definitely late to the party. Maybe Joe got lost on his recent trip in the Amazon. The Chinese Communist Party has gradually been taking over Africa through its so-called infrastructure investment plan, the Belt and Road Initiative. The U.S. is going to have to play catch-up. But the good news is that the CCP has had plenty of time in Africa to show its true colors. Chinese state-run media would have you believe the China-Africa partnership has been an example for building a shared future. But the truth is a different matter. In actuality, China's involvement in Africa is riddled with corruption, such as this video, purportedly of a Chinese national giving a Zambian minister a large cash bribe. Then, of course, there's the shoddy infrastructure, like Kenya's railway to nowhere and a crumbling metro in Ethiopia. Not to mention the poor treatment of African workers at Chinese hands. Beyond that, illegal Chinese fishing off East Africa is hurting local communities. Cheap Chinese crap dominates the African markets, and Chinese loans are pushing the world's poorest countries to the brink of collapse. Yes, China is bringing all sorts of peace and prosperity to its new empire. Just look at that peaceful prosperity. But just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, China,
like I mentioned, China likes to talk about racism and slavery and the past slavery of Black people in America, right? But it never talks about what it's doing elsewhere, right? Or what they're actually involved in elsewhere, what their own people are doing to each other in their country. Right, last time we talked about this, about China, we looked at how there are people running over kids in the street on purpose with their cars and trucks. Not only just kids, everybody, just revving it up, turning into traffic on purpose, because they're so mentally unstable because of years of persecution by their own government, mistreatment by their own government. And they've got no, what is that, recourse? There's no way of like saying, hey, I need, why are you doing this to me? Because even when they complain, why don't I have any rights? They get arrested and taken away and disappeared, because you can't, in a communist country, you have no rights, right? So how do you survive on that? But I love the fact that Western leftists, like, it's never been utilized well. Well, just look over China. They're utilizing it very well. It's never been done properly. It's never had a proper leadership. It's like, how many leaders do you need to know that communism doesn't work? Like, how many billions of people has died under communism and socialism? They don't know, because they never looked to find out, right? China alone had 60 million die under Mao. That's 60 million people. So now you got China began funding African terrorist groups.
China began funding African terrorist groups. This is happening in a lot of different ways, but one of the major ways is through logging. Yes, logging. turns out one of Africa's most precious resources isn't minerals or diamonds, or even ivory. It's wood. As it turns out, the Chinese demand for rare rosewood, used to make high-end antique-style furniture, is empowering some of Africa's deadliest terrorist groups. Rosewood trade is banned in 16 African countries in a desperate attempt to save rosewood species from extinction. But as they say in China, please don't hurt me or my family, I'll do whatever you say. Oh, I meant the other thing they say. Rules are just suggestions. The rosewood must flow. Chinese companies are heavily involved in the rosewood trade, but they're not the only ones. Chinese officials are too. According to the Environmental Investigation Agency, in 2017, some 1.4 million illegal logs were allowed into China due to a grand corruption scheme that involved over $1 million paid by influential Chinese and Nigerian businessmen to senior Nigerian officials. Some of the transactions were facilitated.
Like I said, soft power, right? Financial influences, how to corrupt the government from the inside, how to corrupt the country from the inside. They did that in Australia. Black plastic rubbish bags, $100,000 to a senator. I think it was a senator in Australia. Let me find out. Like, I'll let this play while I go and find the thing from that.
By Chinese diplomats. That doesn't surprise me, considering that Chinese government officials have a history of working with criminal organizations. The CCP itself is basically the mafia. And guess what? Some of that wood came from areas controlled by the terrorist organization Boko Haram. Remember them? They're still alive and kicking hostages specifically. Are Chinese exporters supporting terrorism by buying wood from terrorist-controlled forests? No, of course not. According to a Chinese exporter with the pseudonym Mr. T, you can't say that, and it's beyond their concern. I pity the fool who turns a blind eye to terrorism. Meanwhile, according to the Institute for Security Studies, in West African forest regions controlled by the terrorist group Jinim, the militants began demanding access fees from Chinese traders, including lumber traders. But China's top rosewood supplier is Mozambique. Most of the wood there comes from the province of Cabo Delgado, a smuggler's paradise that's home to an arm of the Islamic State. Environmental Investigation Agency investigators were told that 30% of the timber logged in Cabo Delgado is at high risk of coming from insurgency-occupied forests. I've heard of cruelty-free makeup, but are we sure those blocks weren't made from cruelty-fueled wood? There's also a good chance that G20 leaders sat on chairs made of lumber that fueled terrorists, in this case, African blackwood rather than rosewood. And China's not just giving money to these terrorists, it's giving weapons. Photos and videos of Jinim militants show them armed with weapons produced by Norinco, a Chinese state-owned defense contractor. That could be just a coincidence.
And they're not only doing it there. You found like Hamas using Chinese and Russian weapons, right? So that's another one of the things that China does. It's been like pushing the whole pro-Palestine movement, right? So like any good socialist anywhere in the world, they like to get together and influence through protest movements, right? Tack on to anything, to agitate, to keep the country in a state of agitation, to keep people angry at each other. The more angry you are at each other is the more you'll forget about what they're doing elsewhere, right? Because that's how, also that's how politicians work, right? Hey, look at my neighbor or look at my opposition and not at me, right? Not look at how I'm doing bad for the country, but look, they're saying this. Racism is the number one thing. And that's why I think like for whenever like I hear about racism in New Zealand and I went with political attacks and stuff like that, mudslinging, I always go, yeah, I'm ignoring that because I know all you're doing is trying to influence me and try to get me all angry because, I'm a darkie. So therefore you think that if you say the proper words, I will get all agitated and I will not vote and I will not listen. in the way we're useful idiots to left-leaning politics and politicians. And I've watched this and I've realized this over time. So I never vote on any sort of like what they say. I vote on what they say they got, like what's good for the country, right? Are you going to build houses? Okay, I'm for that. Are you going to look after people? Yeah, I'm good for that. I don't care what you think about your opposition. And okay, if you don't do it, next time I'm not voting for you, right? So the influence, this influencing of terror, right, and putting out guns to people in these terrorist organizations from China, money, it's just crazy because I remember there was like guns for oil, right? America did that thing. I think it was that Iran Contra thing. If I remember right, I might be wrong on that. I'm sure, you, my American audience, right, chat will know more about that than I do. But there was also South America as well, like trying to topple. I think regime toppling is the worst thing you can do. You got to let people decide for themselves what they want for themselves. Because what happens there is if the people don't choose, they'll always use you an excuse when they fail, when their country fails. Right? So it's even me, I've had to look at myself and go, if I listen to other people and I work on their suggestions and not come to my own, final understanding of what I want to do with my life, I will always blame someone else. And I've had that happen and I'm like, stop doing that. Make your own decisions. Own your own actions, right? So, yeah. Because otherwise you're always going to have somebody to blame. So at the moment, people have like Africa for years, decades, have wanted foreign investment. In return, they would give out their resources. However, with then they're going, oh, America's all bad, right? America bad. However, now you've got China coming in and giving weapons for wood and other resources, so that those guys, terrorist guys, can go out and kill people. Boko Haram, Muslim Brotherhood states, Brotherhood, right? Was it Boko Haram took 200 Christian females from a village, African females from a village. They butchered, and this was only, 2-3 years ago, and then they went out and slaughtered entire villages. Where do you think the weapons come from? How do the weapons come there?
Vince, if rebel fighters in Mozambique weren't also equipped with Chinese AK variants, according to one arms research think tank. In addition, the Congolese group M23 also has Chinese weapons, particularly from Norinco and Xinjiang. Some, like the paramilitary Rapid Support Force in Sudan, even uses Chinese suicide drones. Okay, so
wait, did you see the logo?
Also has Chinese weapons, particularly from Norinco and Xinjiang. Some, like the paramilitary.
Palestine, in Africa. All right, taken from like the Iranian flag, right? But I mean, was it? I forgot it now. Sorry, my brain. Every now and then it just goes, nah, I'm not giving you that information. Apologies for that. So yeah, so in Africa, you can see how like Islam is like infesting everywhere. And everywhere with terrorism, right?
Military Rapid Support Force in Sudan even uses Chinese suicide drones.
That
suicide drones. Okay, so 4 coincidences, although I'm pretty sure that's what's known as a pattern.
exactly.
Given that China has eclipsed Russia as the largest exporter of arms in
China becomes Africa's top weapon supplier, but modem quality stirred debate. It's not good enough. Why are they doing it? It's not good enough. the weapons aren't good enough. But why are they doing it? Because that means there's less people when they move in, right? There's less people to disagree with what they're doing. I mean, after all, right?
Sub-Saharan Africa. I'm not surprised that terrorists got their hands on Chinese weapons. Of course, a lot of these kinds of organizations get their weapons from their enemies, so this isn't proof that the Chinese government is directly arming terrorist groups. But it kind of doesn't matter. At least indirectly, China is funding and arming these groups, and that isn't good. And yes, I'm aware that the United States has some answering to do on that front as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for the pullout, America. It's also a never-ending cycle. African militaries fighting,
like leaving all that friggin' weapon, like hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of weapons of Afghanistan. Thank you, Biden. Where do you think those weapons are going to end up? Oh, maybe in Syria? With those so-called rebels who are actually terrorists? Right? In Turkey, maybe? Oh, Hamas in Gaza. So they can terrorize and shoot at their own people, torture them, you know? Yeah. Thanks, America. Well, I should say thanks, Biden. Right? And Kamala Harris, right? Well done. Well done of leaving all those weapons over there in the Middle East. Because Taliban just came back in power and just they have all these weapons, all these vehicles, all those armory, all those uniforms, right? All that equipment, all those buildings, all that resources that you haphazardly moved out and got people killed, your own people killed. Not only that, those people that you went in there to, change my hearts and minds with, now they're back in the same place they were before you even got there. Or maybe even worse, because now those who helped you are seen as collaborators and are being hunted down. This is what I mean about regime change. It's just not good.
terrorists and insurgent groups have one solution: buy even more Chinese weapons. They're cheap and come with very few strings attached. Potentially, literally.
DRC is Democratic Republic of Congo. I think it's Congo. So you go like, it's a Congo and Rwanda conflict, right? Chinese weapons killing Africans, killing themselves, tribalism. It's basically, I think everybody kind of goes like the white man bad, Europeans are bad. Oh, look at what they've done in the past, right? But they got rid of tribalism. And I've spoken about this, about Pacific Islands and stuff like that. There is still some hints of that every now and then. And even in New Zealand, it rears up, right? And we see that like gangs of freaking Tongans hunting, getting into fights with Samoans, right? On the street, broad daylight, running around with machetes, punching each other, hitting each other with weapons in the city or in malls, chasing each other down. However, when you look at a place like Fiji, sure, you're going to have some conflicts every now and then, but that country, which is seen as like the most Western, most, what would you call it, like most advanced island, used to be full of cannibals, which used to eat people. And it's not just me saying it. I have a weapon in my right here hanging, right, that club, for hitting people on the head, just so you could use a fork to eat their brain. And you can go to the Fijian Museum and the history of Fiji's past. They have everything there listed and shown, just so that you and the people of Fiji and the natives and people, foreigners who come, and locals like Indians, Chinese, other Pacific Islanders, and so on, and Asians, can see that that was the past. They don't hide it. And this is what I'm proud of, having been born there. Right? I visit that, like, I try to go to it every time I go there, because I learn something new every time I go. Last time I was there, I must have taken about 100 or 200 photos. Sadly, someone stole the chip, like my SD card, out of my friggin' tablet. 4 gigs of photos just gone, right? Not to mention all my vacation things. I was like, yeah, kind of bummed out. I was so angry for a whole day. I was like, I don't care if if it was empty, I wouldn't really care. But all that memory, all that stuff, Anyway, so you can't blame the past for the current thing. The thing is that, like, this is current. This is all current. This tribalism, Muslims killing Muslims because of their Sunnis and Shia and all the other offshoots of their own religion, or not even religion, their own people, Persians and Arabs, right? They're always at each other's throat. They're not next thing level up, right? Or level down, is they're against everybody else. Hindus against, no, Muslims against Hindus, Muslims against Christians. Extremist Hindus are against other people as well, Christians and Muslims, right? But that's very minor, very minor compared to Islam. But the other thing here is, this is Africans killing Africans. Congolese killing Rwandans using Chinese weapons, right? Attack drones, just boom. Right? Wipe out a whole village. That's your whole lineage. Every time. Here's the thing, like, I really think people don't understand is that if like the whole idea of, like, children, and abuse, and I've talked about this, but also children dying in these attacks, like women, their whole line gets cut off, their legacy, right? I know a lot of people in the West, nah, not having babies. Well, you should be having babies if you're able to, if your relationship, but don't go crazy with it, right? At least have one. And if you can afford to, but have one more, right? Have 2. But also, think about the fact how important that child's life is in your hand. That's why, like, now, every time I see a child, I smile. It's like, look at the joy that they have. I'm just happy that they're smiling, right? I hope that people don't see me as creepy, but I'm like, I just think it's, it's just cool to see kids laugh, because I knew that I didn't laugh a lot, right, when I was a kid. So I enjoy seeing other people laugh a lot and smile and enjoy their life, because I think it just shows that there's something good that's going on in their lives that you can be proud of. And yet you think about these people over there in Africa, right? Just in another country, killing each other with weapons made from a communist government, which they've bought through local resources, and now with trees, right? Black market. There was another recent thing where a Chinese student, and this just found out this week, where Chinese student, right? Let me just put this on a smaller thing so I can see you guys well. So, all right, man, you have a good one. So, just this week, a report came out where a Chinese student who was on a student visa in America, in California, that plays with gun control, excessive gun control laws, right? Basically was able to buy and sell weapons to Korea, North Korea, sorry, not Korea, right? North Korea, communist North Korea, while when he should have returned back. So he was illegal because he stayed behind illegally after his visa expired. So then, of course, he went underground, got in contact. How the hell do you get in contact with people to supply you all these weapons? Like a whole arsenal. It wasn't just like one or two. It was like a whole freaking arsenal of rifles and stuff like that, right? To get and to export it to North Korea. So this whole idea of gun control, trying to, what is it like, protect people. And yet that same city who has this excessive freak out because it's totally commie leftist, right? People in power, like, politicians there. Yet this dude, a Chinese national who came over as a student, stayed behind after visa expired, was able to get hold of an arsenal of weapons and export it over to North Korea. It's crazy, right? Because you think like, oh, California's got the toughest laws, and like, yet you couldn't figure that out. Yet, until it was too late, and then they caught him. Leftist rules just don't work because they come out of a place of emotion. They're not pragmatists. And this is why socialism always works wrong, because people, when they vote for it, it would be nice if everybody had the same amount of money. If everybody had the same, everything was provided for them. But not everybody has the same skill. Not everybody wants the same thing in life. But the problem is when you kind of think that way, you think everybody's a robot. No identity, no individualism. People are not robots. They're individuals. You could find another Indian with the exactly same upbringing as me, like moved to here to New Zealand, such and such, everything, and he'd be totally opposite of me. There might be some little things that we connect with. That's it. But we'll be totally opposite. I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about how different my thinking is to maybe just someone else who's a migrant or who's Indian or so on. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way there's an exact replica thought-wise of me in this entire world, which is what is amazing about us as human beings. We're the only ones of us, right? People like to say, oh, life, life doesn't matter. We're very similar. Yeah, on little bits and pieces. But really, when it comes down to it, we are totally individuals. And because of that, we have totally individual ideas and thoughts and stuff. Like I look at my experience with heavy metal, right? My dad, right? Basically, I think it was about 85, 86 when I got into it. If my dad did not have that album at that time when I needed to hear that album, I would not be into listening to this music. Right? It would be something else. I would not be so passionate about it. Just a little thing like that. Like we just go on a whole new line, right? It's like how they talk about like parallel, was it like timelines and parallel universes time? Like if you just make that one butterfly effect, right? That little one switch in your life, and you change your whole life. And I think that is so amazing. And that's such amazing things that, that's the way, if you just concentrate on that for a second, you realize how amazing we are as individuals, that even a single choice we make can be affect us for the rest of our lives. And then also the same thing that can happen to us in a negative way can affect us for the rest of our lives. So that's why, I think it's important that we value each other and that we value children, that we value our identities, that we protect our identities as individuals and our freedoms, because it's very important to be able to have its voice. But, but we also live in a society where we also have to think about other people, right? And we have to try to get along as best as we can and not be crazy, trying to be social minded to the extreme where we actually hand over all the power to the politicians and not think about our community. It's like when they were like, the reason communism in China killed 60 million people was because they had engineers, farmers, trying to plant trees. They don't know how to plant trees. They know how to do engineering stuff. They don't know how to raise crops. And that's what socialism and communism does, right? It switches. It's because I want everybody to be equal. There's nobody's really equal because your talents and skills are always going to be different.
Is they're so cheap, I wouldn't be.
Apologies.
China, better hope it doesn't blow up in its face. Sorry, continue to blow up in its face. So hopefully the U.S. is successful in countering Chinese influence in Africa. As soon as Joe finds his way out of the answer to blow up in it.
Okay.
Sorry, continue.
So here we go. 5 Chinese nationals kidnapped in the same place they gave, we just, the weapons to, right? They got attacked near the mine because now, they're swapping mines for weapons, right? Oh, you can dig up here, give me your weapons. Then, oh, you know what? We're going to use our weapons on you. Smart thinking by the Chinese, right? And then 2 Chinese among 4 killed in attack on DRC gold convoy. So the mines where they dug the gold out of and got, put on the truck, moved along, and next thing you know, that same truck gets attacked and 2 Chinese die. So, we're going to be looking at kidnapping soon, right? But I just wanted to lay the ground for what's going on with how China is influencing the world, and not just Africa, Pacific Islands as well. The crazy thing is all the loans, billions of loans they're putting out and across the world into poor nations, into South Pacific, Africa, and South America. All their whole plan is to push away America and Western thinking, right? It's like, we want you to align with communism. This is all about, pushing communism onto people, socialism, because it's easy to control people when you're a commie, right? That's how it is. It's always been that. But when you're democratic, people power is always in effect. Would you like to live in a country where people have the power to choose, or where you want to live in a country where the government tells you how to live, right? Where you can't protest if the government starts, wiping out people for, we don't like the government for saying, you killed my parents and took me off my land. I want recompense. Well, we're going to do that to you too. Socialism. Gotta love it. Killing people since its inception. All right. Next up, now I remember I was talking about earlier. I'm just going to do a quick 2.5-minute video about China influencing Australia and politicians. So let me bring that up, and then we'll cross over to another topic.
Raids at the Rockdale home of Shaket Mosselmain began at dawn, conducted by the Countering Foreign Interference Task Force.
It's dreadfully concerning. It's terrible.
His older brother says the allegations are lies and the Labor MP is the victim of a racist attack.
They want to use him as a scapegoat for something.
Who do you think's behind it then?
Behind it, the Zionists and the racism in Australia.
Oh,
The
wait,
upper
wait, wait,
house members'
wait.
office
wait. It's the people who like, who think that Israel should survive and exist as a people and a race and a country. And then also, as Australians who are racist. If Australians were so racist, well, how do they let you into their country? Right. So this is bit of background. So New South Wales MP, this is from 4 years ago, right? MP Shaquit Muslimani. It's weird because I just realized that's what we call Muslims. A Muslim man, Muslimani, Indians, right? Muslimani. That's what we do in Fiji. It's a Muslim man, Muslimani. Or even a woman will call Muslimani. Has been questioned at his Parliament office after Australian Federal Police, AFP, and ASIO, that's their security agency. It's like the FBI, right? Raided his home and office in Sydney, New South Wales. Labor leader Jodie McKay confirmed she was aware of the raids and that the party would suspend Mussolini's membership. Right? So carry on.
offices at State Parliament were also searched. He's been suspended from the ALP.
It's the right thing to do. He will no longer
Labor.
sit in the caucus.
Leftist
He
government.
will no longer be a Labor Party member.
Labor is also looking into whether a staffer is also a person of interest in the investigation. The Prime Minister says he was briefed last night and says the allegations are extremely serious.
We won't cop anyone coming and seeking to interfere in our political system.
Government ministers quickly lined up to call for Mr Mosselmane's immediate expulsion.
This appears to be a pattern of behaviour when it comes to the New South Wales Labor Party.
There's too much smoke here, and I just think it's ultimately really incumbent upon Jodie McKay to step up.
Shaquet Mosselmane was recently forced to resign as Assistant President of the Legislative Council after a...
See, influencing, soft power influencing, money, corruption. That's, everywhere. We looked at Kenya, right? Just before. Was it Kenya? No, I was just thinking about the band, the metal band we were playing earlier from when I was doing a little clip on the other place. So these people who are here, they have money because normal poor people in China, they are still at home. These people that are in these positions of power being able to leave elites. It's proven that because their job is to go out and influence the world and to get you to think that China's all good. Right? They're tools of propaganda. As we'll see soon.
repeatedly praising China's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Wait. So he's praising China locking people up to die in their own apartments and condos? Like putting bars up. Right? We all saw that. We all saw what they were doing. Right? And then there was a white paper movement to get people for the government to lift it out so people could get out. So people were actually dying locked up in their own homes and apartments in China. And this moron who's shilling for China and being bribed by China to promote Chinese friggin', propaganda in Australia as a friggin' Muslim, right? Who's a migrant there. That's traitorous friggin' action. Right? You're promoting another country and government's influence into your country where you're a migrant. This is what man, it's like drives me nuts with these, and it's really, really, Islamists are the ones that do this all the time. They're like, and you can, it's like weird. Like I can't imagine an Indian doing this, and sadly some do, right? Or like, oh, we're going to come over here and we're going to promote, our countries as and then when if I join your, I will never fight for your country. It's like, well, why are you living and enjoying the goodness of our country if you're never going to fight for our country when the time comes when you have to fight to defend our rights? Then why come? We don't want people who are not going to support us when we in our time of need. We don't want you to live of us, right? We don't want you to, use up our schools, our institutions, right? Use up our socials, and have a good life for yourself if you're not going to be part of us. And I think this is where we're coming to in New Zealand. And it's nothing to do with left or right. It's anything like that. It's just where we're coming to is like, we're so tired of being used as a stepping stone for migrants. And I've seen that in my own family. I was so pissed off a couple of years ago when I watched someone in my own family use New Zealand as a stepping stone to go off to it. After staying here, getting a New Zealand passport and residency, going off to Australia. Yeah, of course. Why didn't you go there first? Oh, no, because it's harder to get there first than to go through. It's easier to go through New Zealand to get there. And I hate the fact that this dude is basically promoting another country's communist ideals and something that would be considered illegal to in a democratic country, and behaving in a treacherous way. Like you're paid by your citizens, by your constituents, to promote their well-being and parliament, not China. Because one of the other things is then China will use this for propaganda back at home for their people who don't get this news, who don't see the reaction from their MPs. They only get these little clips only when it looks good to them, right? So their people back there don't have a clue, like I played in that video right at the start, right? Their people have no idea on the lower end what is actually going on, how much they've been lied to their own country.
I just say that the Chinese government should be commended for the immediate action that it took.
No one's yet been charged under the new countering foreign interference legislation. The ABC's been told national security organisations have been chomping at the bit to get a few scalps.
Should be stripped of his job and investigated, and then found out what level of interference and bribery, and then prisoned as a warning. And I don't like to say it, but because so that others don't do the same thing, because you gotta, and I mean equal amount of punishment, not we gotta make an example of, no, because that's not the way to behave. When something happens, you gotta have a balance to these things, right? You gotta say, well, you did this, now this is a crime. What does our law say? Well, if you're a traitor to our country, this is what happens. If you're taking bribery, this is what happens. If you break the law, this is what happens, right? Leftists love that. Consequences, right? Actions and consequences. So let's have that.
Shiket Mosselmane's also drawn the ire of his fellow party members. One source saying goodbye and good riddance to a menace.
He's a pro-Labour Party, Labour Party in his heart.
Yeah. So there's, like I say, so now he's brought his family over and stuff, and it's just Labour. If you look anywhere around the world, Labour parties, they say, oh, we're for the unions, we're for this, but when the fruits of their labor, no pun intended, maybe little, is that they are very leftist, and they use racism all the time. That's the first thing he said. Oh, it's because they're racist, because they're Zionists. Not the fact that, well, he broke the law, that he shouldn't have been promoting another country's activities of locking up their own people during COVID, like the most extreme thing in their own buildings. No, it's because we hate Jews. It's because they're Jewish promoters. Oh, it's because they love their Jews. Oh, and because Australia's racist. Then why the fuck are you there? Honestly, nobody forced you to be there. Why are you there, bro? If Aussie's so racist, leave. Every country has their problems. Yes, I'm not going to disagree with that. But you are saying Australians are racist. That's like everybody. There's no nuance in your thing. So why are you there? By the way, let's leave that, right? Because otherwise I'll go off on a really weird tangent, and I don't want to do that. So let's get to Aussie, right? And then we'll go back to where are we? Oh yeah, remember we did the other day? We did a Aussie drug.
Several alleged members of one of Australia's most notorious.
So we talked about the whole drugs thing on the other stream. So this is an update on that, and this is from yesterday. Yeah. Now we're there. I'm just making sure that we're on the stream right.
Notorious bikie gangs have been arrested over the shooting of two brothers at a barbershop at Marrickville. The director of Dulwich Hill's LJ Hooker also facing court today, allegedly caught on a secret camera housing the Comancheros' drug operations.
At a unit block in Sans Souci,
Open the door!
an alleged Comanchero bikie marched out in handcuffs, taken into custody, along with 4 other alleged members of the gang, including 47-year-old George Legoo, who's accused of orchestrating the broad daylight shooting of brothers William and Eric Ciali at Adele's salon in Marrickville in July last year. 41-year-old David Govlin, today extradited from Queensland to New South Wales. He allegedly sourced the vehicles used in the attack.
This is the start of progressing to identifying and arresting the principal offenders.
The 18-month investigation culminating in a raid of a dozen properties across 2 states. Police seizing vehicles, luxury watches, drugs, cash, and arresting 6 men, including 31-year-old real estate agent and director of...
Was it worth it, bro? All that money and all that, luxury stuff, all that property that you got through like drug dealing and crime and killing people, bringing in millions of dollars of cocaine from South America, getting kids involved, minors, right? Everybody who's got to deal for you and all that, was it worth it? Now you're going to prison because all that's gone.
Dulwich Hill's LJ Hooker, Yanni Karakikis, charged with controlled drug supply, allegedly filmed on a hidden camera and accused of aiding the bikies with their alleged drug operations at an apartment he managed on Canterbury Road.
He's provided the premises for these offenders to conduct their criminal activity, to store drugs and equipment in a manner they thought was safe and undetectable.
Did you know that drugs were being kept at that apartment? Well, police now have the alleged mastermind behind the Marrickville shooting. They're still hunting for the person who pulled the trigger and had this message for them today.
In due course, they'll be held accountable for their actions.
Police also looking into a possible connection between this shooting and one in Elizabeth Hills in May 2023, which killed bikie associate Marvin O'Raya. At Sydney Police Centre, Madison Scott, 9 News.
All right, so that's that one. So the next one in Australia, we're staying with Australia for a bit, is another recent thing that came up, and this is after a spate of a dude out there basically.
Let's bring in right at the top of the program Liberal MP Julian Lesser. Julian, since October 7, you've been warning about anti-Semitism in the country. You've been a strong and passionate voice. It started on the steps of the Opera House on the 9th. We've now got a synagogue in Melbourne, in a very highly populated Jewish area, firebombed. Did you ever believe that you would live through this in your country?
This is the saddest day in the history of the Jewish community in this country, Steve. This is a country that has been welcoming to Jewish Australians since the time of the First Fleet. We've never faced anything like this before, and it is the culmination of the terrible anti-Semitism that has gone on, anti-Semitism that's been ignored. What starts with hateful words, what starts with hateful graffiti, what starts with intimidation on our streets ends up here. We've seen this before in Europe.
Yep.
We've seen this before historically. But to see this in Australia, which has always been an exceptional country, a place where people, regardless of their faith, can come and worship God in their own traditions, as Jews have since the very beginning. To see this is the saddest day in the history of the Jewish community in this country.
I labelled it urban terrorism.
So,
am I exaggerating?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because just last week there was a guy, in his 20s, went around burning cars and putting swastikas and anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic stuff all over, graffiti all over the place. He tried to escape. They found him at the airport. We talked about this. And now imagine a mosque being burnt. How enraged the Muslims will be, rightfully so. However, there's no rage, there's no protest for a synagogue, for a Hindu temple, or a Baha'i, right, or a Christian church, because those other religions don't do that. They don't go burn other people's holy places because there is respect. Hey, you can believe what you believe. People want to believe in yours, that's fine. But Islam, no, there's only one God, and Allah is it, of, whatever. And therefore everybody else is wrong, and therefore everybody either joins this or they don't matter. And it's like a pattern, like, the dude earlier was saying, like 4 times, it becomes a pattern. It's 1, 2 coincidence, but when it's happening over and over again, it's a pattern. And the reason I've mentioned this is because I'm worried that this will start here in New Zealand. Because every time I see our cousins across, something like this happened to our cousins across in Aussie, because we're pretty tight. That's why I call them cousins. Somebody would get the idea here to do the same thing. However, after what happened in Christchurch a couple of years back, we've only had one person run around with a knife, from a Muslim person run around with a knife. Islam is whatever you want to call them, right? From the Middle East, in a shopping mall here, in a grocer's here, stabbing people. The other side of that is that so far, our government has been really keeping an eye on these sort of things. However, you can't have eyes everywhere, no matter how hard you try, right? And I'm just worried that this will happen here in New Zealand as well. And we will, we will basically become just like everywhere else, where they target Israelis, target Jews, target Christians, target Hindus, because that's what Islam does, whether you like to admit it or not. because it's their God is their God. That's the only God that matters. There's no place for anybody else's beliefs. Basically, in my simplest of forms, I can think of commies. That's why they get along so well with socialists and communists, right? That's why you always have the leftists joining anti-Semitic, anti-Israeli groups, right? And you'll have a lot of Muslims that are happy to do that, right? That's why they like to tie that in, because they're socialists, Muslims, oh, we're all about socialism and all that. But of course, life doesn't matter to them, as we saw in Gaza. They're even now, they're like, there's a whole thing that Atheist Republic, I think yesterday, I think it was like, did a whole live stream about all the Hezbollah people saying how they won in Lebanon against Israel when they themselves like begged for a ceasefire as they stand in front of demolished cities and buildings. We won. We won. We won. Right? It's like, even when they lose, they can't admit they won. Right. Okay. So, oh geez, we already 1 hour and a half. Okay. I'll leave the rest of what I was going to bring up, because there's some crazy stuff for the next video. But here, let's go on to our, the sad news about Elliot Eastman. So let me find. Okay, so this is the first time I ever heard of this guy's name, right, and who he was.
Absolutely not keeping a
So
Thursday, October 17th, 2024, a 26-year-old YouTuber was approached by 3 men dressed as police officers with M16s. By the time he realized they were not police, it was too late, as he was grabbed and thrown onto a boat and the kidnappers took off south. This is just a depressing, stupid situation to cover, as the whole thing was extremely avoidable, and he had so many chances to save himself. But who is this man? Well, he's an American IRL streamer who's been building a following off of, in quote, living in the Philippines' most dangerous area as an American. That sounds like a terrible idea. Pro tip, if most of the citizens avoid a portion of their country, it's best you do as well. The Australian government straight up says, do not travel here. And the FBI also states, do not travel to the area that he's in. Yet for some reason, he decided to go there and he found a wife. I don't know if he knows, but being a passport bro doesn't have to be an extreme sport. If you really care about your life, you can find someone in an area that doesn't have a do not travel warning by multiple Western governments. Bruh. According to a Sun article, it says a witness claimed the Vermont native was shoved into a white speedboat just after 11 p.m. on Thursday in a remote town he'd been living in. Local resident Abdulmali Hamsiranjala told cops that the 4 armed men pretended to be police officers when they forcibly took the YouTuber who tried to escape. Abdulmali said the men were dressed in black and armed with M16 rifles. One of the gunmen allegedly shot Elliot's leg before he dragged him onto the speedboat, then fled by sea further south. Oh, what a horrible situation. Cops worked tirelessly to chase the suspects and the YouTuber, but failed to locate them, so he alerted other police and local Marine units. They said, we confirmed that there was a report of an alleged abduction of an American national. We want to assure the public, particularly the community of Sibuco, that we are doing everything in our power to secure the safe recovery of the victim. The police asked the public to immediately provide any information they could help in the ongoing investigation of the reported abduction. So this is best case scenario. This is a hostage ransom situation, as the other alternative is he's gone. This sucks. I can't believe he would do that to himself. Why would he have?
And that's the thing, right? Why would you do that in a foreign country? It's enough just to be in a foreign country. You just gotta be on your best behavior, as I've said before, and try not to get aligned with like nefarious people. In any given environment, there's always going to be someone, want to take advantage of a foreigner, right? You should understand, even when you go to another foreign country, that your brain is switched on and not off. This is why I get all frustrated with females who go overseas alone. I, as a male, I still have to be on my best watch, right, when I'm traveling overseas. And I usually have because I walk with a cane, I have a weapon on me 24/7, all right, or like when I'm out. So I've been in my head, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm at least I have some safety on my side. The problem is the insanity of so-called modern people, especially Westerners, is I am a golden child in these countries, right? So I should, I will have the protection of my, of my embassy. I have my people, of my country, and yes, to a certain extent, you do. However, if you willingly go to a place that your country and other countries have said is a dangerous place to be in, right? That crazy stuff happens there. There's gangs there, there's weapons, there's been kidnapping. So otherwise they wouldn't be saying that, right? Nobody's basically going to say, don't go there for no reason, right? Like I've said, I think I had my hat on too tight, it's giving me pain across there. When I took the hat off, it's like blood rushed in. But I mean, like I've mentioned this before, like I even got warned when I was in Fiji, right, to just tame it back, because you're a foreigner, just tame it back a bit. They don't understand, and you might not understand it either, but I'm letting you know. And I was so grateful for that. And I watched myself all night after that. And that was at a nightclub, pub, where my granddad used to go in back in the 80s, used to go and drink with his friends after, getting paid, after, getting them, taking the, planting, growing, cutting down the sugar cane, taking it off to factory, then coming back with a paycheck and going for a drink with his mates before he goes back home with all this gifts and food and stuff for us to celebrate. It's like, it's payday. And so in lieu of that, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and drink there myself just to, honor my granddad and just do that. And then got told, yeah, and I know some of you guys who have watched the previous stream will mention this, but it's just, I got told by a local to tame my head in. So like if this guy's getting told by locals, as we'll find out, to pull his head in and he doesn't, it's now on him responsibility. Sadly, he keeps not listening. And so, he ends up basically getting kidnapped, getting shot in the leg. Now, let me now I think this is where he's talking about it, because I've got a whole bunch of lists, right? So I'm just going to make sure. Yep, hold on. Let me get that video. Apologies, guys. So this is where, it got a bit crazy. All right, so this is a month ago, and this is from Tim K's page. We're not going to play everything, but we will play some bits of it, because this is, this is crazy, man.
There's like so many of them. There's like 4 of them. 4 people there.
It brings me no joy to tell you this story. However, I think there are some very interesting nuances to it that are told in the victim's own words. On Friday, an American YouTuber living in the Philippines was kidnapped from his home by a group of masked gunmen who shot him in the leg and whisked him off on a speedboat. Elliot Eastman, a 26-year-old Vermont native, was taken at gunpoint from Sibuco, a coastal town on the island of Mindanao in the country's south, late Thursday by 4 men appearing and posing as police officers. The suspects, armed with M16 rifles and dressed in black clothing, forced their way into Eastman's home where he lives with his Filipino wife and opened fire while he tried to fight them off. The men forced and injured Eastman into a getaway boat and fled out to sea, authorities said. As someone who's lived in the Philippines for over the last 5 years and traveled most of the entire country, what I find fascinating is not that he is the atypical expat or immigrant to the Philippines from the United States, but how much he talks about being kidnapped or being around people who are dangerous. To me, that's the most fascinating side of the story, and we'll see the clips and listen to him in his own words as he talks about those dangers.
What do you do? Like being scared here of dangerous people. You always have to hide. See, go down.
We leave.
To me, it's really unknowable why someone would want to come to a location where they're making comments about being afraid and then post them onto a very public forum, which is YouTube. YouTube is available to be seen in just about any country and can be searched by location. And someone like this could be easily found to get all of their words and their thoughts and their emotions. As someone who's been on YouTube for a long time, I'm keenly aware that everything that I say is digested by others, absorbed by the community, and my thoughts are made aware to everyone, whether they're down the street or 2,000 miles away. And it's very clear that he is either playing it up for the camera that he is afraid or he is actually scared. But either way, he decides to post this clip less than 2 weeks before he was kidnapped. As Elliot begins to make his way down the water, I feel that at this moment we really start to see his naivete and his kidnapper's haul, as if he's mocking the area and he is going in there making a joke out of what so many people have probably told him is a very dangerous place, to include the State Department of the United States. So to me, it begins to show his immaturity, and he is very young. And my guess is that he sees the world as a wonderful, beautiful place that a lot of young people do. But in fact, it's very dangerous.
Yep. This is what I've been saying, right? Like I've been saying this for a couple of years now when we've been talking about this sort of thing about traveling overseas. You know, I mean, I'm writing, we're working on a comic book called The Tortoise, just about that, like just traveling overseas, right? 2 young girls traveling overseas, hunting for a legend. I know exactly what I wrote down, but I can't remember what the premise is, right? They're looking for this this ancient tribe, and because they hold this information about this about tortoises, right? Turtles that she's after, that she studied her whole life for. Now she's in her 20s. Now she wants to travel overseas with her partner, and the 2 girls go overseas, right? The young lady, I should say, and because I'm using my own experiences and my own studies and research about this topic into the story, into the supernatural horror kind of story about being around Indigenous people, and just looking at this idea about this whole, why do people think they're invulnerable when they're overseas? Not saying that these girls do that. It's just naivety, right? Being naive about things, about overseas, right? You don't go into areas that you're warned about, because the local people are very aware of what's happening in their community. They really are, right? They might not, they might not say a lot, but when they do, you have to listen, right? You don't laugh it off, you don't ignore it. You listen, because then they respect you because, hey, yeah, okay. Then you also, not because you're listening, it's a show of respect, because you're like, oh, okay, he is listening to us, so he is worried. So let's make sure that, you know, we can pass on more information, or that, like, you know, he's listening to us, you know. And so you'll find that, like, as this story progresses, they kept coming up to him and telling him, bro, please leave this area. It's a danger to us, so it'll be worse for you, right? You're just a target now. You're the bullseye. They're just waiting to throw the dart, in this case, bullet, right, at you, because they see you as a cash cow, pay pig, right? You're going to make their life, because their whole life's going to change, because they are going to kidnap you. They're going to, you know, they're going to demand money, and then, you know, you will go back home. Then that money will come into our community, or those people will be like living luxury lives, and they'll get the hell out of our community. But you want to ignore all that. But yeah.
I don't think he's been involved in any sort of security operations, military, police, law enforcement operations ever, in which he has to be confronted with the real evils of man.
Spearfishing. Looks like the guy had a gun. Some sort. There's like so many of them. There's like 4 of them. 4 people there. Doing spear. I think these people are spearfishing.
You know, I find this to be one of the more puzzling parts of his walk down to the water from where the tricycle dropped him and his wife off.
What do you think?
As he
Right?
talks
I mean, like,
about
hold on,
the people in the water.
So, you guys traveled overseas before, right? Have you been in situations like this where you've come, you know, been told by the community, hey, just be chill or whatever, just watch yourself, or you became aware of danger, or, you know, whatever, right? But have you traveled overseas? Have you experienced something like that? Leave that, you know, leave it in the comment, or pop over in the chat, because I think there's so many of these stories from naive people putting themselves in danger, causing crazy things to go down, because now you've got police having to go hunt down these people, right? Your embassy's involved, your parents, right? Crazy.
Having guns, or someone nearby having guns, and he calls out how many of them there are. There are 4 of them. And in a later clip off of the video, or on the video not shown here, he talks about them being spear fishermen. But it's really weird. It's like this concept of kidnapping and danger is ingrained in his head, and I don't know if some sort of psychological aspect to this is his coping mechanism. I mean, he was just a young man, 26 years old, and I know that we can at times have bravery and bravado at age 26, but there is a lack of wisdom.
There is something that we used to say in the 80s and 90s: young, dumb, and full of, right? And really, that's what it comes down to with young males. And now young females want to behave like males as well. They feel like they're invulnerable as well, that they feel like they're untouchable, because they've been so pampered living in a Western society, right? Where they haven't faced this sort of danger. And if they're lucky, they haven't, right? I know there's areas in certain areas, you know, I've faced danger in a Western society, right? In New Zealand, I got knocked out and was almost killed, right, by a dude about 2.5 times, because I'm quite skinny. It's really hard to judge how big somebody is. All I know is like at least 2 times my size when I came to. right? Trying to murder me, basically. So if that happens, like the question is like, if you haven't faced that sort of danger, you're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna have your radar up all the time, right? You're not gonna have your antenna going, okay, let's just be careful in this environment. It looks a bit sus, because you haven't faced that. That's what he means by like, you know, he hasn't been, I don't think he's been in the military. He hasn't been in that sort of situations. He hasn't been in police force, you know, whatever, all this stuff. He's talking about like he has got no experience. He's just a dude out of school, 26-year-old, you know, over into Philippines, young, dumb, and full of, right?
I confronted danger when I was 26. That was the year that I went to Iraq. So I can understand a little bit of the innate desire to want to be afraid, to want to put yourself in harm's way. It's not a real healthy thing to do, but sometimes young men do that. But what was his real motivation here? Hopefully we'll know. Maybe he'll tell us in the future. But as of now, we don't.
So we got this drink, but that's the end of the night. So, bitch y'all guys tomorrow.
Fortunately for Elliot and his wife, they did make it back that night. And now we'll go over some clips of him at home that are quite puzzling.
So that's what our days been like today. The guy who we lent money to, he returned our money. We lent him $21,400 and he came back with $23,500. So a little extra.
It's baht, isn't it? Is that baht? Philippines money? Pesos, right? So he's saying 610 US. Wait, go back to peso. All right. And then go to US there. Apologies, I'm just trying to do this thing on my cash converter thing from ZE, XE, right? So the reason I'm doing this is like trying to figure out how much it is in New Zealand dollars for me, right? For us here in the lower south, right? 6110. The $610 US, right? There's 35. It's weird. Why is it changing all the time? All right. All right. It's always like dropping up and down. It's weird. So let me do that. New Zealand. Hold on. Stop it. Messing around with my thing. Okay, here we go. So 0. So it's about $1,000, right? So he lent $610 US, and it's about $1,000 New Zealand. So it's like about 2 weeks labor, approx. Less than.
We sent him back with 35K. Yeah, should be seeing a little bit extra profit off of this. Maybe in 1 month we'll have already 3,500 profits. You know, business in there. We got our Wi-Fi.
Oh, bro. No. This is the worst business to get involved in the Philippines.
Lending
You're
money.
Literally making like 20% interest off of poor people in no time. Compound that and you basically just make them your slave. Anyone who it's called 5-6 is what I've heard it explained. So you give someone 5,000 pesos, they pay you back 6,000.
Sure.
So that's 20%. I don't know if it's after a week, after a few days, or what, but it's basically debt slavery to poor people. And when you're poor, I really don't even know what it's like, honestly, but I understand a little bit from my wife growing up and, you know, dirt floors and that kind of thing. You'll just do anything to make it to the next carrot, you know?
Yeah.
Just lend the money, and then next thing you know, it's all in over your head. And who knows what these that other guy's going to do to people.
Yeah.
He doesn't even really seem.
What he means by the other guy is probably saying like, well, the guy who got the money, right, is going to go take it out from somebody else, so you can pay it back to the other guy. So it's a spiral, right? It's a circle jerk. You know, around and around it goes. I didn't even think about that when he was talking about like how, okay, lending money to poor people and then getting interest on it. Because the other thing is that the poor people don't want to lose face by not doing the 5-6. Right? Because at the end of the day, all you have is your pride and your self-worth and your respect when you're poor. That's like what they always go, like we showed the other video the other day, it was like, we don't want your money. Right? When Jomi Salami was going, yeah, I'll give you money, I'll give you, his Giro or whatever, his freaking idiot partner is who ran off. You know, when he realized, oh, this is getting serious, he took off back to America. And it was like, you know, Gino, sorry, I think it was. And he's like to the Thai people, it's like, I'll give you money, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. When they were about to get his head beaten on, they said, keep your money, we don't want your money. You'll be disrespectful. Right? Because they care about the respect, their honor. So this guy, you know, it's basically lending out money to people, but that's also dangerous as well. You know, never be a lender nor a borrower, right? I've had to really try to get that in my head over years. I've had to, like, you know, sometimes, especially with my parents, I'm like always borrowing, and I'm like, oh man, in the past. And now I'm going to where it's like, I don't give me money. And now it just gets gifts of money, even without asking or something like that. It's like, the thing is, like, when people see you have money on hand, it's so easy for the criminals to see you as a target, as a bank that they can withdraw from. And this is where it keeps going worse for this dude.
Like he knows the guy. Like, dude, what are you doing, Elliot? This is like, look at where you are, bro. You're way out there in the freaking nowhere. And you're going to get involved in one of the most dangerous small businesses in the Philippines? No, dude, no. So anyway, this is what he's explaining as his business venture. So I'm just seeing multiple angles where this guy just doesn't make any sense to me, man. And I know it's a hard time for his family to be going through this, and I'm not trying to victim blame, but there's some like big time mistakes that were made here from like multiple angles.
I think total, I mean, I built this waiting shed too. That costed like $15,000 just for this waiting shed. And the roof and everything. Let's see, it's pretty nice. I spent 15,000 pesos alone just on this waiting shed, I'm pretty sure. And then on the solar, the Wi-Fi and the solar, I think I spent a total like 130K or something, maybe 120. Yeah, 130K, 130,000 pesos.
So somewhat about,
you know, this is just one of those things where, you know, you need content. You got to talk, and he's talking about cost. So, although that in itself is not inherently dangerous, you know, you have to remember who your audience is. And going around saying you're spending $2,200 on a Wi-Fi system, like that's probably a family's income for a year.
Yeah.
That's a big number. You know, you think about wherever you may live.
That is what I was taught when I was told about my head. And it's like all that money, you know, $10, $20 you're spending on alcohol, that's an entire week's work, wages for some of these people out here. And I had to go, oh, so now I look like a rich person, even though I'm not really rich. I'm probably, you know, I'm a student, so I'm not working part-time, so I'm not really rich at all. and the whole friggin' compared to anybody in New Zealand or probably in the West, I'm not that rich because I'm working part-time, bringing home about $200 a week, which is around about, I guess, about $120 US, right? While my other bills are paid, because I'm trying to have extra cash by working part-time while I'm a full-time student working 50 hours or whatever at school, doing another 20 hours just to, during the week, part-time at night, to live an adequate life, right? And now I'm in PG, and after I've taken basically at that time I'd won a case with my injury, right, with the car accident and stuff, and I had some money, and so I didn't feel like I was actually being rich because I was just having like $10 jugs, but that's like a day's wages to some of them.
In the world, what a family's income is for 1 year, and this guy's splashing it around. Meanwhile, the people around him live in poverty, complete poverty. And I think about, how does this apply to me? Am I in a similar situation? And no, I don't really feel that way. I feel that there are plenty of Filipinos around me who have a much higher income level. There's boutique resorts literally like right here, owned by significant people right behind me on the same street. So I don't feel so completely out of place, but I think that our friend Elliot did not really exercise that caution in truly knowing his audience. I think he's just a little bit naive. Travel and living abroad is a learned experience. It doesn't just come to you naturally after a couple days of showing up in whatever country you're in. We have to remember that when we go somewhere culturally, everyone around us is not going to shift towards us. I'm sure we might have a girlfriend or a wife or some significant other we get involved with that tries to make us feel comfortable in their home country, but it doesn't always work that way, where everyone around is going to make sure that they bend to how you view the world. Unfortunately for our friend Elliot, I think he made some very significant mistakes in the way that he portrayed himself to those around him. As a YouTuber, it really took me some time to figure out how big my reach was. I really had no idea that complaining about a simple water bill would piss off the person who gave it to me when I questioned how high it was. To me, I just lived in my own world, and I forgot that the people all around me were watching exactly what I was saying on my YouTube channel. When I first started out, I made plenty of mistakes. Definitely the first 2 years, I made a ton of mistakes on my YouTube channel. And I think our friend Elliot, being even a little bit younger and less mature that I was when I started my channel, and I was pretty immature, not that I've gone that far, but it really takes some guiding and learning and making of mistakes. Unfortunately for him, he really took himself to like the double black diamond of travel. Having grown up in a very simple town in Vermont, from what I can see, with probably a very loving home upbringing, maybe he traveled some places with his family. I doubt they were that poor. He looks like he's taking care of himself. He's physically looking fantastic. And he would be an absolute gem to most Filipina girls who would absolutely love to have a boyfriend like that, especially at a young age, willing to travel. He made a lot of mistakes in the way that he portrayed himself. And we just hope for the best for Elliot. We hope for a happy ending. We pray for him. And if you could just do one thing and do that for him as you close out this video. I don't have a way, I don't have any way to help the family. I don't know of any of how to do that, but maybe that's the only way that we can help them at this time.
Okay, so that was that video. And then the reason for why I did this today is because just yesterday, one of the channels I follow, as you know,
hello friends.
Hold on, sorry, wrong one. That's a different one. We'll get to that one soon. Actually, let's watch this and then we'll get to the other one.
Just a little. little update on the Elliot Eastman in regards to the shooting a week ago. We'll talk about it.
So this is a Brit. The other was, sorry. So this dude's a Brit. I can tell by their accent. Maybe Irish. That the accent's a bit, but I know it's from United Kingdom, right? But also the other guy was from America, right? And military. So let's find out about him. And by the way, this is the first time I was seeing his channel, right? This was about 11 days ago, and we're going to get to the one that we're going to get to straight after this one.
So, when the police went in and they did the raid last week, I think it was last week, someone's working on my house doing skim coating. Yeah, in regards to that shootout, the police have found out that there's a fractured group that came from when they took out the sub-leader of the Abu Sayyaf. So, there is a new terrorist group that they found out that is in they were involved in the kidnapping.
It cracks me up because like we started with China supporting terrorists, and now we've kind of like circled back to terrorists involved in the kidnapping.
Well, so they found out now that there is a new terrorist group, and they said that in the news that there was a rise in kidnappings. Now, we've only heard of the one here. So they said there's a rise. So obviously there's been other people kidnapped. Maybe Filipinos and they don't get mentioned. I don't know. Maybe they're not high profile, which is terrible, really. You know, an abduction, regardless of your nationality, is equally the same everywhere. Oh, my wife come round. So yeah, guys, it's just that really. Just said that they've actually found out now that there is another terrorist group that they didn't know or they didn't mention that it had, that it was existed until last week or whenever it was when they shot those people. So guys, there's another terrorist group on the prowl. So we will not go down to that area. The police haven't been back here to see us or to tell us, and why would they? They've already been around, so they're not gonna. Maybe they will come around and mention it. But yeah, guys, it's that's it really. I've got to come around here because my little boy's starting to shout about. He's shouting up. If I had my computer, I'd read it to you, but I'm not going there because my little boy's making lots of noise. So I've come outside just to do this, just to let you know, really. So, guys, yeah, I think it's on the Phil Star. I think that's where I read it. So if you're already here in the Philippines, take a look at the Phil Star. Might be a little bit more detail on there than what I've said, but interesting, eh? So when they took out the sub-leader of the Abu Sayyaf, he follows from the guy they took out. Yeah, the leaders that they took out, his followers that he had, they formed this other militant or terrorist group. What it's all about, guys, so that's why they're putting it on there, just to say that there was another terrorist group that's been formed through the followers of the sub-leader, which I just said, which the army or the police took out a little while ago. Interesting, eh? It all happens in Zamboanga. It all happens here. But there again, I was looking, I was reading, and it said that there is just as many kidnappings and abductions in Manila. In fact, when I was reading, it said that's the capital of kidnappings and abductions, but mainly that he could be Chinese or the Koreans or whatever. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm just going to show you my little house that's been skim coated. He's just started today.
All right. So that is Philippine life through the eyes of an expat. You know, if you want to check out this channel, and that's pretty cool. I just had to step out for a bit. Apologies for that, but that's the rest of it. But now we'll get to the the update on the arrest and stuff. And this is from, of course, you know, the channel that I quite watch a bit of when it comes to Asian news, as you know.
Hello and welcome back to Asia Now. In this video, I'll give you the latest update on Elliot Eastman, the American vlogger who was kidnapped in October and has not yet been seen. The police have recently just released a statement through a phone interview to some journalists, and it's been released to actual mainstream media like the Inquirer or the Sun Star, the Phil Star. So I got this news initially about 2 or 3 hours ago. I waited a bit to make sure it's not just some random person saying stuff.
This one,
because a lot of times people like to take these stories and just give an opinion. It can seem like fact. So this is the latest update. Police now believe that American vlogger Elliot Eastman likely passed away following his abduction in Zamboanga del Norte. Though his body remains missing, Eastman was kidnapped from Sibuco town on October 17th by 4 armed men posing as officers. He was wounded in the leg while resisting, according to police. Quote, "We want to believe that Elliot Eastman passed away because of the testimonies we got from a witness and one of the suspects," end quote. Police Regional Office Pro 9 acting spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Romancilio Sawan, told reporters in a phone interview on Thursday that one of the suspects, in an extrajudicial confession made last November, admitted that Eastman passed away and that his body was left in the waters near Zamboanga City. This statement is corroborated by a witness account provided in October. Despite these testimonies, Sawan said that Eastman's body has not yet been found. Quote, "Although we have one witness and another witness corroborating what was said about Elliot Eastman's passing, we still aren't able to find his body," end quote, Sawan explained. Quote, "Although we tried to search for any signs along coasts on nearby islands, but we still haven't found anything," end quote, he added. Eastman's family has been informed through the police's coordination with the United States Embassy, according to Sawan. He added that the police are keeping their lines open for any information about Eastman and are coordinating with authorities, particularly agencies with the sea assets in Zamboanga Peninsula. Pro 9 maintained that it has yet to determine the motive behind Eastman's abduction. Eastman, a YouTube content creator from Vermont, USA, had been living in the Philippines for 5 months after marrying a Filipina from Sibuco. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation in October. On October 20th, we filed complaints against 6 suspects for taking him and serious illegal detention before the Zamboanga del Norte Provincial Prosecutor's Office. 3 suspects in the case were arrested, while 3 others remain at large, the Philippines National Police announced on October 31st. Meanwhile, the 3 other individuals linked to the crime group were implicated in Eastman's case after being perished in a clash in Zamboanga, Sibugay on November 12th. And during a phone interview, police spokesperson said that because of confessions obtained and witness corroborating the confession, that they believe that Eastman is no longer alive. Although not 100% confirmed still, I just don't see how they can confirm it if they cannot find the body. It's really difficult to really actually find out what happened, but this is the latest update on the situation. I know many of you guys have been asking me in the comment section, emails even, what's going on with Eastman. I don't have any idea. So I basically go off whatever's in the mainstream media, or I do a little bit of digging to find news articles that have yet been translated to English, and I go, of course, just pure speculation at this point. You don't even have to comment, actually. I don't want this to be like a whole thing.
So a month ago, that made national news and everything over there, and also, you know, in Philippines and also in America, right? Because, you know, it's a huge news when an American or any, you know, foreigner, something happens, right, to a foreigner overseas, because it's a huge, like I mentioned before, it's like it's a bad look on the country. And I'm going to play a video later to show you what foreigners are doing that's giving a bad look to other countries that they're from soon.
The abducted American national in Zamboanga del Norte. The U.S. government is now coordinating with local authorities to locate Elliot Eastman. Officials from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, visited Sibuco town, where Eastman was reportedly kidnapped. The American was reportedly shot by a group of armed men and then took him to a motorized pump boat last week. The local police said they have already identified some persons of interest.
Si Eastman is a YouTuber.
Oo.
And prior to his kidnap, he came out with several videos na sinabi na niya na alam niyang makikidnap siya.
Alam niya, natutunugan niya.
Alam niya makikidnap siya because he would not be surprised daw. And sure enough,
so basically, just saying like he shouldn't, he mentioned that he was going to get kidnapped, so they shouldn't be surprised that he got kidnapped, right? Because even like the Filipinos, channels going like, the guy's a fucking idiot. Excuse me for my language. Right, he shouldn't have even been there. Everybody told him not to be there. Locals told him not to be there. Don't go there. And he goes there and he thinks that's the place I want to do business with. I want to set up a Wi-Fi, and this is what really, like, the insanity of Westerners traveling overseas knows no end, right? The arrogance, the ego, the hubris, whatever you want to call it, that people from the West carry to non-Western countries or even Westernized countries, right? Just pull your head in, like we say to us, to Kiwis, and that's a colloquialism, right? Just don't be an idiot. Just pull your head in, right? Don't try to be more, portray yourself as something else. Chill out, relax, just pull your head in, right? Because people can see through you, right? And they can see what value they can get out of you. And in this case, they could see he's a freaking moron. He's ignoring all the signs, to even the local people telling him, please leave, right? I want to, I think we'll go play Atosi's video before moving on, because Atosi basically said, he was warned, right? Because I don't follow Eastman's video, right?
This detailed story of exactly what he's.
So he was warned, right?
Afraid of. And then he's absolutely not keeping a low profile, as he's the only white dude there who's live streaming daily. Then to make everything worse for himself, the last thing we know that he was doing for.
I have mentioned how I stick out like a sore thumb in Fiji. The moment I speak, I stick out like a sore thumb in Fiji. Because I don't speak the dialect or the accent. I don't speak Hindi. Even when I do, it's mangled up, right? I can understand it, but I can't eloquently speak it, right? So the moment I say something, or even my mannerisms, this is a weird thing. Even my mannerism walking into a store, lady goes, where are you from? An Indian lady. And a young lady, about 20, 18 years old, right? Enough to be working. Where are you from? So the reason I say this, how much more a white dude sticking out amongst all the Filipinos and Filipinas, right? How much more crazier. It's like, that's why I say, like, you got to pull your head in if you're overseas.
Money was operating a quick cash payday lending business, which he admits to in this vlog.
Investing some money in our business this morning. We had a guy who we're investing some money with. He came by. He gave us the money that we lent him plus some profit we gave him extra.
Yeah. We basically saw that with Tim K talking about how it's like a 5+1, right? Where you get back 20, interest of poor people, living off of poor people, charging interest on poor people, right? Debt slavery. So I think, I think it was this one here. It always talks about, Atusi's talking about how, this is how, like I said, this is how I found out about this dude. From Atusi's video, right? This video.
Hey, there's a plot for this. Grab your family and leave. Why?
Is it up here? Here we go.
Eerie is he talked about this on his live streams, which he streamed multiple times a day. Like, this guy was broadcasting all the time.
Everybody's telling me right now there's people out there planning to come get me, bro. No, but that's true though. There's people coming here to tell my family that there's people that want to kidnap me or they're threatening to kidnap me or stuff like that. Like every day this is happening. This is like a real life thing for me here. And that's why no foreigners or there's no tourist living here. I've been taking this chance, even last night, I'm scared a little bit. I'm scared.
Why are you still here then? His
voice is breaking. You can hear it. I'm scared, right? That's, you can sense that he's actually telling the truth at that point. I'm scared. Because when your voice breaks, your emotion gets there, right? And that's why it's like, I try not to be emotional when I speak, because like, I don't like my voice breaking, but he's constantly being warned. Like, every day they come and tell him. And he's like, I'm not, but I'm dumb. But I'm dumb. Like I said, young, dumb, and full of, right? They did everything in that community to save his life. Everything. They warned him over and over and over again. You're a target. You've got a bullseye on your head. They're going to come and kidnap you. And they came and kidnapped him. And now we find out the people behind that worked with those kidnappers were terrorists.
whole logic is rooted in survivor bias, which clearly can only get you so far. If you live in a red zone, aka a do not travel to area, because of kidnappings and ransom, and a bunch of people are coming to your family regularly saying, hey, there's a plot for this, grab your family and leave. Why would you ever stay? Sure, even if it's a false alarm, at least you dodged that nightmare situation.
Yeah.
Many nights in this house where I'm just been scared, dude. Well, that's why I dyed my hair black. Maybe I look more like a Filipino now, right? Or maybe not.
Dude, coloring his hair is the least of his worries. That's absolutely not going to fix his problems.
And if it comes to the point where it's like, all of a sudden I'm kidnapped and something's going to happen to me, I'm going to ask myself, I don't know. Yeah, it's like everybody's saying that, you should just go home. Like, this is literally my third time down here, living in this house. It's my third time. The first time I came here, it was like 1 month or something. Or like 2 months I stayed here and then I went home. The second time, it was 6 months I stayed here and then I went home. Because of these kidnapping stories and shit like that. Yeah, I don't know if I believe it either. I wish I could just... Yeah, I'd rather just travel around. Like, I like this country, but like...
This is like a cautionary tale to every foreigner who thinks they're invincible. Like, the cautionary tale of cautionary tales. See, the problem here is now people are going to look bad on the locals. They're going to go, well, why then the locals? How could they let this happen? Why don't you protect this idiot? Well, first of all, they did. They went out of their way to warn him to get out and leave. Don't come back. Don't come back. His wife's probably saying, if they come for you, I might get caught in the middle of my family could get caught in the middle of it. They have guns. But no, this moron, basically thought he was invincible. Maybe he read too many comics, sadly. Maybe he watched too many American TV or movies where, he thinks he's Rambo, right? Then nobody can touch him. And sadly, they did. He got shot in the leg, and now they don't even know, if they think he's dead because they can't find his body.
Hello and welcome back to Asia. Now, I have an update for you on the American vlogger Elliot Eastman, who was kidnapped by 3 people in the Philippines and wounded in the leg. Here's the latest. So 3 people have been arrested.
So the reason I'm playing this because you get to see who were arrested at the time of the thing, after he was kidnapped, right? And so this is kind of a bit of a, it's a 3-minute video, and then we'll move on to the latest video I just want to show. And that's it.
After U.S. YouTuber Elliot Eastman was kidnapped on a speedboat in the Philippines as the FBI hunts for the missing vlogger. 3 men have been arrested as cops continue to search for the kidnapped American YouTuber Elliot Eastman. He is a 26-year-old that was snatched up by a group of men with heavy weaponry in a remote coastal town in the Philippines earlier this month. Cops have now arrested 3 people who have reportedly identified the other 3 accomplices who remain at large. Filipino police were looking for the abductors on complaints of kidnapping and serious illegal detention. Eastman remains missing, with a local mayor launching 150,000 peso, a reward for the information that could help find him. No ransom demand or proof of life has since been received from Eastman's abductors. Philippine National Police spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo said they had activated all available resources to find Eastman. Quote, based on the statements, the 3 in custody were directly involved in the abduction of the American national. Eastman's kidnapping in the village of the Sibuco in the southwest of the country came just months after he got married to a local. He was last seen October 17th before the Vermont native was ambushed, shoved into a white speedboat, and taken away. FBI agents have now arrived in the country and are working with the local police searching for the missing American. The American officers have spoken to Eastman's wife, with whom he lives in a rundown concrete shack belonging to his father-in-law. He was staying at the father-in-law's home when he was reportedly attacked by 4 armed men. The attackers falsely claimed they were police and reportedly wounded him in the leg when he tried to resist, officials said. He was then bundled away in a speedboat off the coast of Zamboanga del Norte, one of the most dangerous parts of the country. Filipino news site Rappler cites reports saying the abduction may be tied to personal conflicts involving his wife. A former partner is now a person of interest in the case, with residents claiming he may have wanted to rekindle the relationship. Eastman's YouTube bio reads, I came to the Philippines about 1.5 years ago, where I met the love of my life deep in the mountains of the red zone of the...
All right, so despite all that, right, so we saw that basically it was terrorist plot to kidnap him, plus local people, not local people, local criminals working to kidnap him with the aid, with weapons and with terrorists, right? So yeah, hunting Americans, But the idea here is stop being a moron overseas. Not the idea like that. The thing here is, right, to be stopped doing that overseas. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys this video that just came out from Asian Dawn. Asian Dawn's a great Twitter page, X page, right? And I'll put the handle, put their link up in the chat if you want to follow that and just find out stuff that's happening across Asia. A lot of racist stuff and against Asians and all across in the West, and also stuff these loonies are doing over in foreign countries. So this is foreigners fight amongst themselves and attack locals in Seoul, Korea. Posted today, this morning, 9 a.m. So it's about 3:40 in the afternoon. So what is that, about 6 hours ago? Yeah. So look, they don't care. two black dudes fighting amongst themselves in Seoul, Korea, right? Right? They don't care about the locals, right? Yep. Is this like what's going to happen is like if this carries on and it becomes like a pattern, I don't see anything but Korea, South Korea, and Japan basically saying because they don't need Western money that much in the sense of tourism. One or two people, yeah, they don't need that. What will happen is they'll basically go, oh, sorry, we're not going to let you in. Oh, why not? Because no reason. Sorry, visa denied. Because that's what's going to happen to black people in Asian countries. And the other thing will be like, if just going back to the other video with Elliot Eastman was, what I was thinking there was like, you know, they had to put up the Philippine had to put up 150,000 pesos, which is around about $660,000 US, I think. Let me get that right. 150,000. I think it was like about 2.5 thousand, right? US. But also there was like a $50,000 US bounty kind of thing, like you know, for his release or whatever, because that's what they were really after, 50,000 US, the kidnappers, right? And of course the terrorists wanted that so they could buy more weapons. So if a pattern of behavior from a certain race or ethnicity continues to cause problems in a community, they will say, we don't want you in our community. And then people will go, oh, but you hate black people. It's like, no, we see a pattern of behavior from you people, and we're not going to want you in our community, causing problems. That $100 you spent isn't worth in our community of causing violence and crime. We don't want to have to use our resources. That's what I was trying to get to. Resources on you for your foolishness behavior in our community. Right? We don't want to have our people injured because of your foolish behavior. We don't want our businesses ruined or destroyed and lose income because of your behavior. All right. The other thing was with the Elliot Eastman was like, oh, now you got to have, you know, FBI resources travel into Philippines to look for this idiot, right? And then not only that, the police of that community, which could be like helping their own community on, you know, other things, now have to take away that resources to help you, an idiot, behaving recklessly and getting kidnapped when you're told over and over by your family, you know, your Filipino family, right, wife's side of family, and your wife, and everybody else in the village to get the hell out of here because you're putting a target on yourself and them, right? But you don't listen. So you got all these resources from two different countries because you behave like a moron. And this is why I think, you know, this is happening in Japan as well, right? There's violent and stuff, like silly, stupid things you can, you know, there's so many things you can see on Asian Dawn's video. I mean, like the listings they put out, because they've, you know, it's a channel, all they do on X is basically, you know, show people behaving badly towards foreigners. I mean, towards Asians. That's the whole point. Asian Dawn, right? So let me see, you know, let's see if there's anything else. Sorry, no. All right, so where are we? So there's that one. Foreigners fight amongst themselves in Japan. Like I said, that was Japan, right? So here we go. Another one. Why is it, right? Look, why is it these people can't behave? You know, why is it that certain group of people can't behave overseas? Black people in Japan, black people in South Korea, right? South Korea, right? It's a pattern. You got to go. It's like, is this a pattern? Yeah, it's a pattern. One time happens, it's a coincidence. Twice happens, you know. Okay, it's a bit coincidence. What else we got? Anything else? Am I on the right? No, sorry, I've gone on to the wrong one. Where are you? Hold on. Yeah, I was like, don't even follow those people. Why? It's like random stuff. All right, so it's not, they don't always, just do that. But like, here we go. Oakland. So this is like, and black people in Oakland, right? Towards Asian cafe owner Oakland. I don't like her energy, especially when she said something about, like, this is like Asian crime report, black female versus Asian cafe owners in Oakland. I don't like her energy, especially when she said something about their ancestors. How this is America and other vile language, right? So let's see what this is about. Don't even know what it's about, but they behave like this. It's like nothing calmness. I actually, to be honest, I saw this happen locally at a secondhand goods store, a Salvation Army thrift store, where the dude had made a mistake himself because he put stuff on the counter, and then his partner came and put stuff on the counter. So he had already tallied up in his head how much it was, and so, but didn't include his partner's money. And there's people around, and I'm like, and the other assistant, because I go there all the time. It's like my weekly visit, like I call my wild hunt, right? And you've probably seen a couple of my videos, clips here about the wild hunt, trying to go find, stuff like this, like, because it's like people have given it away, and now I can have a, California Highway Patrol TV show, vehicle, like, motorbike, I should say, police motorbike. And so there's people around. And so this is a young girl. Great. She's always been, great to me. I've been visiting that place for 5, 6 years. So I know her, right? And I know everybody, like at least about 5 of the people there in that store by face. And I've spoken to them. And I'm like, why are you going off on the girl? And even when she was trying to fix it, he just goes off on her. And I don't have to tell you who it was, right? Because it wasn't a white person. So, and I'm like, I didn't even want to step in because I just finished and he was right behind me. And I'm like, because it felt like if I stepped in, it would be worse. But not only that, the other lady, right, her boss, her fellow assistant, comes over, goes, hey, just let her work it out. We'll find out what's going on. And she goes, well, this is what happened. He put stuff there, and then his partner put stuff there, so I tallied it all together. None of them said anything about being paid separately or that he didn't want to pay for it. Because that's what I do. I just go dump everything on there. Go, yep. Because that's what everybody does. They go to the top, they put their stuff on because they're ready to think. They don't, and even if I decide to change my mind at the end, I go, okay, we'll leave this one out, because I just like, when I get there, I'll be like, I don't have space. Or wait, I look at it and I go, it's probably better if I leave this behind for someone else, because their kids would like it more or appreciate it more. Because, like, look, I'm okay with this because it's my 80s toy, right? So if I'm getting, like, say, if I'm getting a Nerf gun, I don't really need to, because a kid could play with that, right? Even if it's a Fortnite little handgun, right? Because I like that sort of stuff. Or if it's like a Minecraft thing. And so he causes this whole thing for 5 minutes, and they're like 3 minutes, right? And his partner just walks off. Sorry, his partner tries to calm him down to explain what's happened. He doesn't want to listen. He just goes off at both of them now. So his partner, who's got a baby, like a year-old baby in her hand, walks outside because she can't, right? And because she didn't communicate to him that, hey, I'm buying this for the baby, this as well. Maybe it was for the baby, it was on. And can you pay them for it together? And now now all that abuse is being hurled at the shopkeeper, at the assistant, right? Who's just doing a 9 to 5, whatever it is, and now has to deal with that. And me and my friend, like, we walked out and I was like, dude, did you just hear that? He goes, yeah, man, that's just crazy. And we were just like, this just ruined everybody's day, man. Like, seriously, totally ruined that girl's day. And she's going to think about it. And the worst thing about that was just 3 minutes before that, I was speaking to the other, the older one, who had just told me about how terrible the customers are to her. And because I never experienced it, because I only go in there like, certain days, so I don't get to see that. And this time I went on the day that's a social money day. That's how I got to see it, right? And so she just told me how, like, sometimes I just go out the back and want to cry. All right, I just sit down. Yeah, this is my job. I'm doing this, and I get made to feel like crap all the time. Every week it's the same thing. And I got to see it, and I went like, shit. Because I have been in retail, but I've never had to deal with, like, people like in the lower socio, because when I've worked in retail, it's always been like very expensive materials, like home appliances type thing, right? Like beds, like cabinets, flooring, wall tiles. I mean, the other time it was like when I was doing bistro, and people are coming to eat food, so they're not really there to argue with me. They give me their order, I make their order, and they know who I am, and so they come to me all the time. Right, so they know they're going to get the food cooked a certain way, whatever but it seems like there's a pattern of behavior that happens. And like I said, it's going to get to a point where people, and like Jamaica's already said, like owners of businesses, homestays in Jamaica, like, and of course, this is not a white Jamaican, this is a black Jamaican, right? Who's basically said, I am not going to lend out my place, my homestay, to black people from America. And she was ripped online, like, Africa, how could you be so racist? It's like, because they come, they make mess, they yell, they scream, they hurl abuse at each other, they get drunk, they behave very belligerently, right, to each other and to everybody around them. It's not worth it, she says. And this is what I'm saying. Like in South Korea and in Japan, they'll soon find out it's not worth it, right? Here's something that's I posted yesterday that I saw. This is, we talk about Muslim people doing terrible things, like Middle Eastern people, East Asian people doing terrible things overseas. We talked about grooming gangs and stuff. So this is an Iranian man right? Iranian man in Japan was arrested for aping a woman in Japan. He followed her home and forced his way in. So we don't, yeah, there's one thing you got to realize on this channel. It's like I cover news from the, from the terrible things to the good things, political things and stuff like this. So, I try not to hold back.
この部屋に住む20代の女性に性的暴行を加え、全治およそ2週間の怪我をさせた疑いが持たれています。サイディ・アムロラ容疑者は、タクシーに乗る女性をバイクでおよそ5分間後をつけ、女性が帰宅した際にドアを開けて押し入って犯行に及んだとみられています。
Basically just
イラン国籍の
That's what that dude did. And here's like this other dude, right? So look at this. This is the one that's in the big case in Seoul, Korea right now. And what's he doing? He is threatens to ape a female streamer named Moxie outside ABC Pizza in Hongdae. So now he's going to get in trouble for that because of business interference, because they've already had this. This is from Legal Mindset. I've been following their channel on here. So if you haven't sussed out what's going on there, please do check their channel out, because it'll keep you up to date. Plus they do clips of like little things. So this is, this is like black people behaving very badly in Asian communities.
He said he's gonna rape me. That's a threat, yeah.
Different angle. Yeah.
Can you help me?
Look, I know Somali. Yeah. Pattern of behavior, man. And then people go, "Oh, it's stereotype, it's racist." How can it be that if there are people actually doing that, behaving this way overseas, right? And like I said, it's going to make those people say, "Sorry, visa denied." We don't need the stress, and not only that, it gives their country a bad look to tourists. So if I come to Japan, if I come to South Korea to enjoy myself, is there going to be black people trying to beat up on me? Threatening with me with ape? Or fighting next to me and I get accidentally hurt? Is that what's going to happen if I come to Japan? Is that what's going to happen if I come to Thailand, South Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, Laos, Vietnam? This is what happens when this sort of stuff happens. Is people just go, "Yeah, I don't want to go there." I watched a show this morning, and people are like, "I'm not going to that country." Didn't have to do with these ones, but it's like I'm never going there. Right? There's certain countries I won't visit myself personally that I've just said, "Whoa, nah, not going there."
He said he's gonna rape me. Please help me.
Yeah, look at that.
He said he's gonna rape. Please help me.
Interfering with their business.
He's gonna
Right?
rape me. I said
This is going to cause them. Yeah. When people go, people are when people go, why are you people racist? Go, well, what are you looking at? This. All right. Asian-owned business. Black people. In America? Yo. Is that in America? Canada. Oh, look, that's in Canada. pattern of behavior. Right? Right? So what's this one? Bringing the new Europe, right? Hold on. So bringing the new Europe to Japan, right? Underage, or like, yeah. But when he says new Europe, he means Muslims, right? You bring the new Muslims, right? That's what he means by new Europe. Bringing the new Europe to Japan, like Islam to Japan. That's why he's doing the head movement, right? Because he's a Muslim. So basically, we just saw that person, the Iranian, get arrested for aping, following a Japanese girl, a lady home, and, forcing himself to, break into a house and raping her, right? So, so this guy, I guess some of you guys told her why it's so safe. Okay, let's see what this is about. Japan is awesome in Semkaful, in so many ways, but one of the best parts is being able to walk anywhere alone as a woman and feel safe. Didn't expect so many races of replies to this. Good Lord. All right. So let's see what I was doing. Just stare the obvious, please. Or just state the obvious, please. Right. I can't go to Japan I can't wait to go to Japan next autumn. Right. So remember, I just showed you Japan and all the things that were happening in Japan. Westerners aping, Muslims aping Japanese people, black people fighting and hurting people around them, threatening with rape to ladies around them, and hurling abuse, sexist abuse, sexual abuse to locals, and also injuring and beating up and fighting with locals. Because no locals is going to get into a fight with foreigners on purpose. Because fact is that they could get into a lot of trouble. It puts a bad image on their own country, and they have enough time to fight with their own people, right? Why would they want to the hassle, right? And plus the other things, they don't know what kind of problems they're getting. Because why does she think it's safe then? What's her reasoning? Like, she gives no reasons, right? But we just showed you it's becoming unsafe because of foreigners of a certain type. And it's sad because it just ruins it for everybody else of their ethnic group, right? Of their race. If you have a little bit of that, people traveling overseas and causing all this problem, you're going to have a lot of people looking at them going, it's a pattern behavior. Dude goes, Antimatter goes, safe for man. Well, with all the influx of Jeets and Nogs, see, that's racist, of course, coming in, it won't be safe for long. And like I said, it isn't safe for long. So he's stating the obvious, right? He's not, yeah. But those guys is, being racist about it, but they tell the truth about it. As I showed you, that it's becoming full of crime now from foreigners, right? Oh, this is a martial law that happened the other day, and that's going to be crazy when we find out, Anyway, let's pop out of there. That's enough of that. It just feels like really weird to talk about that sort of stuff. But like I said, people recognize patterns, right? And from patterns come stereotypes. And from stereotypes, there's only other way. It's like, oh, then then you react to their stereotype. And then when you react to it, people go, oh, you're racist. Yeah, but did you see how many? Oh, no, you're just racist. Right. And I think that's where the word race has the racist and racism has lost all meaning, because it's an excuse to get away with doing terrible things and then pull the race card, right? And it's kind of sad because it ruins it for everybody else who are just trying to have a good time overseas, and now they got to be treated with suspicion. Hopefully he doesn't start fighting. Is he going to call? Better watch my lady in case he starts saying terrible things about he's going to ape her. Or maybe he starts touching and taking video footage of her. It's all happened, right? It's not like, that's all all actual news out there of happening. And this is all happening in Japan and Korea and over, Asian countries with foreigners doing that. And it's really sad. And a lot of them are Americans. So now it's going to be like an anti-American thing over in those countries. And so when has it been like, when did people in America traveling overseas think that it's okay to behave this way? I'd love to see like the statistics on that. Actually, you know what? Just in finishing, let me ask ChatGPT. Right? And it's going to give me some weird ass thing, because like I've been having trouble with ChatGPT trying to find out how come which ethnic group in New Zealand commits the most crimes against minors. And it gave me leftist woke things. Oh, it's because of this, it's because of this, that this group is doing crimes like, violence and abuse towards minors. I'm like, but all that aside, ChatGPT, ignoring all that, tell me the truth. And it just couldn't. Right. So let me ask you, when in Japan, let's just do Japan. In Japan, when did West? Yeah, let me just show you so you guys can watch. So it's got a screen to watch, right? So let me ask this question. Where you ChatGPT? Because I was asking a whole lot of heavy metal questions, because I was trying to find a, when did this metal album come out with all these different songs on it from these different bands? That's what I was doing early this morning. I didn't find the one I wanted, but I think Memories, because it's so bad because of my head injuries that I couldn't figure out which Orange Various Metal album tape that I owned had these songs on it. And it just seems like I've got the wrong color of the tape, maybe the wrong list of bands on it. Anyway, so you go forward a bit. I come forward. Oh, you go back a bit. I come forward a bit. I mean, all right. So have I got? Oh, here it is. So you are seeing this, right? What I'm going to be writing. So I'll go caps so you guys can see it. All right. So then go caps. When did foreign? Oh, let's just say like last 10 years, right? Japan. Last 10 years. What was the ratio of foreign crimes compared to local crimes? Oh, is that right? I think what was the ratio of foreign crimes compared to local crimes? Does that even sound right? I'm always like terrible when I do grammar. I always have to get people to check my grammar, if she's okay or not. But you know what I mean. I had to put that in there. Apologies, guys. Why am I looking at the mic? Right. So, okay. And I've spelled it wrong. So Japan. Japan, last 10 years. What was the ratio of foreign crimes compared to local crimes? foreign crimes committed by tourists, I should say. Committed by tourists. Didn't really think about doing this, but I mean, let's see what ChatGPT says. Let me go and zoom in a bit here. Yeah. Data, from search for sites, data regarding the proportion of crimes committed by foreign tourists in Japan compared to locals over the last decade is not comprehensively detailed. However, the available data show that foreign involvement crimes in Japan relatively low compared to the general crime rate. Okay, because like the numbers, there's more people in Japan than foreigners coming to Japan, right? Tourists. However, right, in recent years, right, however is what I've added. So, in case you guys are listening, it doesn't say that however, and there it goes. In recent years, Japan's overall crime rate has remained low compared to global standards, but the total number of crimes saw an increase in 2022. 2022. That's when it increased. After 2 decades it declined. Isn't that very specific? Like I asked for specifics, but like you could have said like some other. This isn't a whole 10-year block. That's a whole decade. But guess what it's giving me? It's giving me 20 years. Look, it says saw an increase in 2022, reaching 6,100 and 300, 601,000, something like 0.389 cases after 2 decades. And I only asked for 1 decade, right? Most of these crimes involved locals, as foreign residents or tourists accounted for a small fraction. See, the problem here is like there shouldn't even be any foreign student crimes or tourist crimes because you're a visitor. Like I give that example, like, when you're going to somebody's house, why would you want to create do crime there? Because this is what really it is. When you're visiting another foreign country, that's somebody's home. Why would you commit crime, do violence? In 2022, foreign individuals. Oh, the other thing that just clicked in my head was that, remember, we were all in lockdown prior to 2022. But it's also giving us 2 decades, not 10, 2 decades. So all of a sudden, people were able to leave their country and travel in the last 2 years. And that's when things started going high. So what was it about we all know that people became very isolated, very, very individualistic during COVID, that they became very violent because, and very vocal. Because you see, like, all of a sudden there was like all this stuff happening, Black people became very more so aggressive because of George Floyd, BLM. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We all know that was used for a lot of violence. So of course, 2022, it got exported, right? So in 2022, foreign individuals were involved in around 17,000 crimes. This is Japan we're talking about, not any other country, just Japan. In 1 year, 17,000 crimes committed by foreigners in Japan in 1 year, a 21% increase from previous years. Likely due to increase in both foreign visitors and residents following the pandemic. And I've mentioned, the pandemic. So basically they said the pandemic increase, easing of travel. So more people were like, yeah, we're going to get the hell out. And you know what? Now we're going to do whatever the hell we want. And, so This indicates that while the number of crimes involving foreigners, including residents and tourists, is increasing, it ranks significantly lower relative to the crimes committed by the local population. If you know, of course, because there's more of the local communities, and of course they have their own problems. But the drastic thing here is there's a 17,000 crimes committed by foreigners in Japan, a 21% increase. That's a lot. That is what? That's like 1 in 5 foreigners commit crimes when they go overseas to Japan. That's only Japan. All right. So why don't we do Korea, right? Let's go copy that and then go Korea. Sorry, South Korea. Last 10 years, right? Same deal. Excuse me. Gulp, gulp, gulp. In South Korea, in South Korea, foreign nationals have been involved in approximately 36,000. That's 20%, 20,000 more. And here's what's going to happen. South Korea is going to bring in new laws very quickly, and they've already started. In South Korea, foreign nationals have been involved in approximately 36,000 criminal crimes cases annually in recent years. Holy shit. Annually, that's like on every year. Annually. With crimes committed by both, both residents and tourists included. So, but I asked for tourists. Oh no, I asked for comparison. So maybe I'll do that again and go Korea, right? South Korea. Let's just do that, right? Crimes not compared to locals. No, let's just go committed by criminal tourists in 2023. So let's go December to December, right? December 2023. And by the way, you guys can do your research as well. I mean, like this, like using ChatGPT, right? December 2024. That's what this whole channel's about, right? Being able to find out for yourself. And that's the ethos, as far as I'm concerned about this channel, is to get you information, you look into it further. All right? You don't have to, but you choose to, because I want you to look into what I'm talking about rather than just take what I say at face value. Okay, what you got for me, chat? GPT. Right. Okay, well, okay, let's look at this. Everybody says it's safer overseas because the locals don't want the conflict with tourists, because it creates a backlash from their own communities. Like, why are you doing that? You know that's going to cost us money in the long run, because we need income from, we need, investment from tourism, from foreigners, because it helps the community. Pull your head in, That's why even here we we try to treat tourists the best, no matter where they come from, and we try to make sure if anything happens, we make sure that they are well looked after. And it's because it's just really, it's a kind of like do unto others what you want them to do to you, right? It's that whole thing. It's like a diplomacy, right? Like treat our people well, and we'll treat your people well. because we know that someday we'll be coming to your country and someday you'll come to our country. So let's treat each other well, right? So let's have a look. Detailed crime statistics for tourists in South Korea from December 2023 to 2024, especially comparative data between crimes committed by tourists and local residents, are not readily available in public sources. However, here are some general insights. Low tourist crime rates. South Korea is considered a very safe destination for tourists. Most crimes involving tourists are petty in nature, right? Such as scams or minor thefts, which are rare compared to other countries. Serious crimes by or against tourists are unusual. See? Locals aren't going to do serious crimes. Sure, there might be some, like pickpocketing and stuff like that, right? That's battle. But now we're seeing violence from foreigners towards each other and towards locals. All right, so overall tourist statistics. In 2023, South Korea welcomed over 11 million international tourists. That's twice the amount of people that live in my country here in New Zealand. So my entire country went over there and then went over there again. Basically, that's to give you that comparison in numbers, right? And if every one of those people spent $100, what is that? That's like $111 million or something like that. I don't know. Or is it $1 billion? And that's just on the download, right? $100, because whenever I go overseas, I'm spending like $500, give or take, minimum, right? Or even 1,000, depending. Because I've saved up, or I've got on a loan, or I've made sure that my time there, I get to have the best time I can. All right. Right. So the rise, so 11 million international tourists, a significant increase from previous years. So as people, slowly got out of the COVID scene, the pandemic, being locked up, they were like, let's go. They have been watching Passport Bros, right? They've been watching the man channels, and I'm talking about just in males in particular. And they've been watching, the black pill, whatever, red pill, whatever thing, right? All that scene. And they've been watching all these guys have great times overseas, marry the locals and whatever. And they say, oh, seems like a good place. Let's go. But in return, they cause problems for the communities. They don't think the other side, like I said, go over there, get drunk, become belligerent, get into fights amongst themselves, and locals disrespect whatever it is, just behaving like them, and but then everybody thinks it's a safe place, but you yourself are creating an unsafe place for people from your own country, for other foreigners, because people are now giving you side-eye glances, because this is how it works in any community. And I've mentioned this about my dad saying, listen, son, you're young, you're dumb. At that time, I wasn't full of, right? Very young, I was like about 11 or something. And he goes, and I mentioned this before, right? These people don't know you here. They don't know you. They don't know your background. They don't know how you've been raised. They don't know nothing about you. And when you misbehave and you do stupid thing, when you go steal stuff, when you throw a tantrum, whatever, and really don't think about what you're doing, when you break into the school with your mates, they don't think of you like, oh, it's just the other kid in the neighborhood. They think of you, that guy there. I wonder if his people are like that as well. Maybe it's a learned behavior. Because that's how it is when you're a stranger in a strange land, man. It's a reality that people forget and ignore. It's like putting, you put your brain in your wallet and leave it there on your backpack and think, now I can behave terribly overseas. And this is, it's just sad because it ruins it for everybody else when you do that, right? So here's the thing: the rise in tourism. Okay, rise in tourism may also correlate with a small increase in tourist-related incidents. The rise in tourism may also correlate. Oh yeah, so it's like the rise in tourism, which means the crimes go up as well, right? Tourist-related, right? So where goes tourists, so goes crime and incidences, right? Problems, issues. So there was more tourists there, so there was more problems, more money, more problems, right? The whole thing. Though they remain a minor fraction of overall crime rates. However, in South Korea, where we're looking at right now, because we looked at Japan before, it's on the rise. We just saw a video of a black dude, threatening a white chick of ape, right? And then saying, I know a whole lot of other Negroes who will do it to you too. To a foreigner. And then the foreign girl goes, oh, hey, that guy's just, help me, man. The guy's just accused me. He's like, the Korean guys go, I don't really understand what the hell's going on. You can't be here. You take your shit out there. I don't want your problem here. You guys are fighting amongst yourself. Go over there. Because, deal with it yourself. If you guys are going to cause problems, do it yourself. I don't even know what you're talking about. And, and the guy's just like, I don't want your shit on my doorstep. And because local people just, they just want to live their life and they don't want tourists. They want tourists to come in, enjoy themselves and leave. If you decide to stay, become one of the people. Leave your shit behind at home. Leave your ideas of how to be and, your ego, your arrogance, and how to be all you've learned back home. And when you come, you be respectful, you be like us, be part of the community, learn what goes here, learn what doesn't go here, or what passes here, right? And what doesn't pass here. And where you can go, where you don't go. If, there's rules as simple as like take your shoes off when you come into somebody's home. Or there's the ones like, oh, you can wear your shoes, but wipe them. There's all these little things, like little nuances that pieces sometimes can piss people really off. Like for me, I come into my thing with shoes on. I don't mind. I have no worries because I'm always walking in and out because I'm on a balcony. So I'm in and out, and on my balcony is like all this dead leaves and stuff. So I'm always walking in and out because I've got I've got plants growing out there, raspberries, I've got herbs, and so on, and flowers. So wind blows the shit everywhere. And so I don't mind, right? But I'm going to vacuum anyway, right? So, you got to really think about these things. Like when you're traveling, there's little nuances and things that people have in their communities that you might not understand. But behaving this badly, getting into fights with locals and with yourselves, it's not a good look on your race, because you're going to another place where majority they're one race, like Korea or like Japan, because then they see you as a race. They don't just see you as an individual, because that's the way we do it, right? That's why we see white people, we did this and did that, they did that, did that. So if you're doing that, then don't you think that other people will do that as well? But then you turn around and say they're racist when they do it, when they put you all together and go, that's not cool. It's like ignorance is, not bliss, right? You can't be too ignorant for too long and go, oh, they're only doing it because I'm black. Because that was the excuse of all these terrible people. Well, you're only doing this because I'm black. It's like, nah, dude. Over here, they check everybody's licenses for their bikes. Because, that's the way it is. That's the rule of the land. Just because you happen to be black don't mean shit to them. They're just checking it because that's the way it is. That's the rule. There's laws there, right? You got to live by the rule. And the reason you don't know that because you didn't study that. You didn't think about checking that out, what the rule was before you went there. You just thought, I'll just show up and it'll be just like my home country. And I can do whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want, wherever I am. Right? Talking about that, maybe I'll finish this, then we'll go to this. I'm taking too long on this today, but we'll get one more and we'll finish with it's a Chinese person over in England attacking Hong Kong people. Right? So here we go. So this is the last one. So general crime context. Local crime rates in South Korea are low compared to global standards because they make sure that you're punished harshly if you commit certain crimes. Unlike America and even sometimes New Zealand and Australia, the court systems, which are led a lot of times by lefties, are too easy on crime. Where then, like in New Zealand, you have to have the victims' advocates to go to court and fight for the rights of the victim against the rights of the criminal or the perpetrator. Right? So violent crimes in particular, are rare in Korea. Tourists committing crimes tend to involve overstaying visas or minor infractions rather than violent or property-related crimes. So, but we saw like there was violent. I just showed you videos. So there are violent crimes. I guess not. Maybe they're talking about like murder or something like that. But then I also showed you that they were, tourists were raping people. Right? And that was in Japan, but I'm sure there's Korea as well. So if you're looking for blah, blah, blah. Okay. So last video, all right? Last video of the day. Sheesh. What were we like about 3 hours? Okay. So this is the last one that I had on today's list. And this is this one here. Right. Once it comes up. If you're new here, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it.
What are you doing here? Why you throw that milkshake to us?
On November 30th, protests were held in several parts of the UK by Hong Kongers opposing the verdict in the Hong Kong 47 case. The Hong Kong 47 refers to a group of 47 pro-democracy advocates who were charged under national security law. The Hong Kong group, quote, leads hand in hand, unquote, organized a silent protest in the city center. During the event, a Chinese man speaking Mandarin suddenly threw a milkshake at the protesters. It splashed onto the volunteers wetting protesters. 2 members of the organization immediately pursued the Chinese man, who's dressed in blue, and called the police. The man and 2 of his Chinese friends left the scene, but were closely followed by the protesters. Footage from the scene shows 2 Hong Kong protesters questioning the man in English, asking why he threw the drink. The scene gestures and, along with his friends, insulted them in Mandarin. Are you even Chinese? Hong Kong separatist.
Yeah. There's the thing. It's like he's doing Western signs, like doing the fingers, right? And he's saying Westerns, Hong Kong separatists should just die, get lost, right? They are there just silently protesting, no words, just holding up signs. So this moron, who we call, young persons are called little pinks, and commies, from China, they're called little pinks. So whenever you, when you see this sort of behavior from a young person, make sure it's in your head. They're little pinks is what they're called. So I'll talk about little pinks in the future, so you understand. But also that's how everybody in the Asian community calls them, and so you'll see that label used, young commies, right? And what not just being young commies, but name for them for being disruptive, causing problems outside of China. As, of course, they do it in China as well, but this is actually as foreigners outside of China. right? Look at that. Just, you know. So this is 17 minutes long, and I'm gonna try to play a bit, and then we'll go off on that. But the funniest thing here is what happens because this guy is so arrogant, right? He believes all the lies his countrymen and his leaders have told him about China and how great they will be looked after for doing this sort of terrible behavior overseas, right?
This should just die. Get lost. Do you even understand the importance of sticking to the one China principle? When Chinese police steps into Hong Kong, you'll finally know what China is capable of.
So basically threatening this, basically saying it's like Islam, right? Saying hey, when Sharia finally comes here, you'll know what's like. It's like we already know what Sharia is like. Your woman will be abused, our children will be raped, and there'll be terrorists everywhere. Because that's what happens in your Muslim countries. There's always people blowing each other up. There's always infighting. There's always violence. There's always shootings, tribalism, like Syria right now. Turkey, Kurds freaking went out there and dropped bombs on them. They're all Muslims. They're all Middle Eastern. They're all Arabs or Persians. Mainly Arabs. So we know. And so he's like, but this is funny, right? So the lady goes, I'm going to call the police on you, right? So they call the police.
We're getting separated from his group. The man ended up alone and called the embassy for help. The man said on the phone, I'm being threatened by Hong Kong separatists. They're recording me right up in my face. I need help from the consulate. They've probably already called the police. I'm sure they've called the police. But honestly, I didn't hurt anyone. I just threw a drink at them. But now I need help from the embassy. I feel like I might be in danger. It seems
he said, I didn't hurt anyone, but he threw, because when you when you do that action or even touch someone, that's violence, because you're not supposed to lay your hands on anyone, right? Even spitting on someone, you're in deep shit, because you have your space, they have their space. You are not, and not only that, he threatened them verbally as well. Oh, wait till the Chinese police come to your country. We're going to show you what. It's like, oh. So what you're saying is, what we know already about you is that your police are horrible and will mistreat Asians in their own country when they arrive. So why should other Asian countries welcome Chinese or the Chinese government? Because you feel so empowered, and this is what he's saying. He feels so empowered because that's what they're told and that's what they're taught from childhood, that we are the, we should do this, just like Islam, right? You are the true believers of God. Your God is a true God. Nothing else matters. Which means we can kill everybody and it doesn't matter, because we'll go to heaven and they're paradise. I shouldn't even say heaven. They call it paradise, right? And they'll have, 144 virgins or 72 virgins. But in so doing, they'll kill everybody here, as many people they can take with them. Very comedy, like I said right at the start of the whole thing of the stream, like comedy, right? Islam is a very communist, and he proves it, right? Like, oh, I got all this power of my country, right? And their religion being communism, right?
The embassy didn't give him the response he was hoping for. Frustrated, he kept on asking, so the consulate can help me at all? Are you saying the embassy can't provide me with any protection right now? They're still following me. 2 people are following me everywhere. Disappointed by the embassy's response, he kept, all right, can I go to the nearest embassy for help? If not, then just tell me a solution you can actually provide. Finally, he blurted into the
solution is, don't be an asshole overseas to other people. Rule number 1. When you are, don't expect help. from your Chinese government or your embassy or your consulate because you mean nothing to them. You're a useful idiot for propaganda. We told you to go do this, but we taught you to do this, but we're not going to take responsibility for it because it makes us look bad. It's very bad for propaganda. But do it more. It's the whole two-way thing in Chinese system, right? Under communism, right? Not the people under communism, that they've taught them to hate the foreigner, yet want their money, want their technology, right? Steal from them, hate their technology, but steal their technology. Makes sense, doesn't it? Despise them, but rely on them. Sorry about the facials. Like, I just realized my face is contorting when I'm doing that. Like,
The phone. So what's the point of the Chinese embassy then? What exactly is it good for? Please tell me. When the other side stopped
Wow, what is
replying,
it
he
good
sighed
for?
and muttered to himself in defeat, "Guess it's pretty useless after all."
he learned finally that all that bullshit has been taught under communism, that how they have this wolf warrior mentality. We'll look at that later another time. It's like funny shit, right? Because there's a movie called Wolf Warrior, and they've been brainwashed into that's how China would, everybody. If you have a Chinese passport, it's the greatest thing in the world, right? Nobody can touch you,
West Yorkshire Police confirmed on December 2nd that officers had arrested a 22-year-old.
This is in UK. This is in UK, Yorkshire, UK.
Chinese man on suspicion of assault. However, due to the difficulties with gathering evidence, he was later released without charge. Leeds Hand in Hand founder Zhang Xijin and member Vic, who chased the man, said they had given statements to the police and provided video evidence. The police, however, said that the man claimed he had accidentally dropped the drink in front of them. Zhang Xijin.
Yeah, see, this is what why everybody in UK is pissed off with migrants, because their new government is basically light on migrant crimes. They have evidence. He threatened them. He threw it on them. The evidence and what he says afterwards actually confirms what he did not do it on purpose. Because he's saying I didn't do it on purpose. But the evidence of his speech afterwards, shows that he did it on purpose. He went out of his way to do it. Yet the police, and this is why Brits are so angry at their government and their police right now, because they are protecting foreign nationalists and propagandists and migrants, especially because when they behave badly, they're not being punished under the same law that they should be. One law for everyone, right? The Crown Law or whatever it's called there. So this sort of shit is what's going to create more schisms and more locals, like I said earlier, right? And the other one, we're looking at Korea and Japan, when locals turn against them, against foreigners. So get the hell out. And not only that, but then when police don't react, like I said, they turn against their police as well. Two-tier care, right? That's why it comes from one rule for them, easy, and one for us, harsh. Jail. Like if that was Brit did it, he'll be jailed. Because they jailed people over memes and jokes online. So what, you think they're gonna stop? Be like, okay, you can go walk away, sir, because you threw, and then you threatened them. No, if that dude was a British person who did that, he'd be arrested. Oh, we have all the evidence we need. Thank you.
Rejected this explanation, noting that the man was 3 to 5 years away from them, making his claim implausible. She expressed disappointment with the police's handling of the case. Before the incident, Leeds MP Alex Sobel had visited the protest to show support and discuss China's transnational repression. Zhang Xiqing pointed out that the attack by the Chinese patriot, otherwise known as Little Pink, was a clear example of such repression. The man's call to the Chinese embassy made us feel that he believed he could be protected on British soil.
Exactly.
She said perhaps he didn't realize he was in the UK. Vic added that although it was difficult to hold the man legally accountable, they would continue to pursue the matter for...
Well, the thing was, like, I would just, like, deport him. Honestly, if you're coming into my country, or any country, right, and you're doing this to someone in my country who's also there just minding that, you know, they have a right, because you have a right to do that in my country. That's the law. And you cause problems, and sorry, we're going to follow you home. We're going to, you know, watch you pack your bags, and we're going to put you on a plane and send you back home. Oh, you're a student? No, sorry, your visa revoked. You can't do this in my country. Like I said before, I would make a, you know, really nasty judge or a nasty police officer, right? Because really, at the end of the day, this is basically where it's come to. It's like, we're not going to put up with this shit anymore. And why should you have to, in your own country, put up with other people coming in and causing problems? And not only that, like we were talking about resources earlier, and then wasting police resources that could be used elsewhere. But no, so what's the point of you giving us your tourist money, like I was saying about, you know, Korea before, giving us your Korea, if it makes us look bad overseas, so then less tourists come. When other people in that community feel unsafe because you let this person get away with it, you are not setting a standard for us to feel protected by. You're breaking down your own rules of law to placate to China or to migrants who either came illegally or are now behaving badly and hiding behind racism. Remember, this is Asian on Asian crime, right? So China, who wants to put their boot on everybody else, is doing this in South Africa. We saw that earlier, right? Beating up on Africans with whips and belts, handing them selling terrorist guns, you know, Islamist terrorist guns, so they can go kill other country, you know, go over from Congo to, I think it was started with R. Dang it, it was those two that fought in the 90s. Right? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, but like it was basically their neighbors, right? So they gave the Congolese terrorist guns. So the Congolese went over across the border and started killing their neighbors. China, everyone. What would you call it? Terrorizing one country after another financially. All right. I think
other means, including by appealing to MPs. We are in the UK, a place with freedom of speech and assembly. We are just expressing our opinions. He may disagree with us, but he cannot stop us from speaking out. We will not let the incident go unaddressed.
Right.
They do not recognize universal values or support freedom of speech and assembly. I don't think the UK should allow him to get away with this while we stay silent. The little pink who only used English to curse seemed truly frightened. He probably did not expect to be arrested for throwing a drink. He might have thought others would simply respond with violence to his vulgar language and obscene gestures. When he sought help from the Chinese consulate, he seemed to believe that, like in Chinese propaganda films, the consulate would quickly come to his aid. What he did not expect was that someone like him, an uneducated little pink with a limited ability to speak English, would not receive assistance from the Chinese consulate even if he hadn't committed a major crime. However, some little pinks who have caused trouble or committed crimes have indeed received protection from the Chinese consulate. Some of them have committed serious offenses. Who are these people? On November 27th, a spokesperson for the U.S. National Security Council confirmed that free American citizens Mark Swidon, Kai Li, and John Leung, who had been held by the Chinese government, had been released. On November 28th, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs also confirmed that free Chinese citizens had returned to China in exchange, but did not disclose their names. Spokesperson Mao Ning insisted that the free had been wrongfully detained by the US. However, reports from the Financial Times and South China Morning Post indicated that the free released Chinese citizens included Chinese intelligence officer Xu Yanjun, student Ji Chaochun, and 26-year-old doctoral student Jin Shanlin, all of whom had been involved in espionage or criminal activities. Xu Yanjun and Ji Chaochun had been convicted.
Play.
And 26-year-old
there. June 26, a former student at Texas Southern Methodist University, so he's a student visa, right, was charged with possession of child PDF files, right? That. So there was that dude did that, intelligence officer, right? Acting as a foreign agent. However, they just go, well, there was just nobodies.
And South China Morning Post indicated that the free released Chinese citizens included Chinese intelligence officer Xu Yanjun, student Ji Chaochun, and 26-year-old doctoral student Jin Shanlin, all of whom had been involved in espionage or criminal activities. Xu Yanjun and Ji Chaochun had been convicted for espionage, with Xu sentenced to 20 years and Ji to 8 years. Jin Shanlin had been convicted in 2022 for child pornography and sentenced to 8 years in prison. According to the Dallas Morning News, Jin had owned and distributed up to 47,000 child sexual abuse images and videos. In response, former Tiananmen student leader Zhou Fengsuo told Radio Free Asia that 2 of the individuals involved in the swap were Chinese spies, and he questioned why China had chosen to exchange Jin Shanlin, a convicted child pornographer. He pointed out that China often exchanges foreign prisoners for individuals with connections to powerful officials or intelligence operatives.
What was he doing?
Texas court documents confirmed that an FBI agent testified that Jin Shanlin's family was connected to influential figures within the Chinese Communist Party. Earlier this year, in September, the U.S. released the Chinese national in exchange for the release of American pastor David Lin, who had been detained in China for 18 years. In return, China got back Wu Xiaolei, a former student at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, who had been arrested in December 2022 for threatening.
This is the thing, right? You allow Chinese students to come up, and I'm not saying that everyone's like this, right? But excuse me, into all these prestigious universities across the world, even here. Like I'll give an example before of how like we had the rich luxury car driving members of the CCP children here, because they're the only ones who can afford it, unless they're part of the triad, and some of them were, right? But they went to, when they were uni students, but they had someone else set the exams for them, right? Because how the hell does the teacher who sees them once a week or something knows that that's the person? They just signed a name and boom. They don't even show up for class, right? Somebody else, well, maybe they'll show up whenever they want, but like somebody else gets paid to sit there, maybe a lower, working class Chinese family kid, right? When the higher class, the elitist CCP party member, family child can go do his own thing and go clubbing, go gambling, and while the kid does, goes take the thing and gets some high marks, and then they go back. Oh, we did really well, Mom. It's like not realizing the kid's not even doing it, or maybe the parents actually facilitating it as well. Who's the smartest? Who's the smartest kid over there? Oh, I'm going to talk to his father. Yeah, I'll give him some money, make sure it's all passes. All right, thanks, Ed. It happens. It happened. Right, one of my family members told me that's what happened. He saw it happen. That's what I'm telling you. In New Zealand, so basically, education crime, whatever they have it for that, right? Lying, cheating at university.
Fellow students who participated in the White Paper movement, a protest against China's strict zero COVID policies and censorship. After Wu's arrest, online sources claimed he was from a prominent Beijing family, but this information has yet to be independently verified. Both Jin Shanlin, convicted of child pornography, and Wu Xiaolei, arrested for threatening dissidents, came from high-ranking Communist Party families. This suggests that even when individuals commit serious crimes, China will still help them if they have the right connections. Regarding China's recent prisoner exchanges, former political consul Chen Yonglin at China's consulate in Sydney suggested that China might be using these exchanges to send a signal of goodwill to the incoming Trump administration. He said, China is under pressure from all sides. Trump's remarks and the hardline figures in his administration make China nervous, and they may hope.
Pay attention, Americans. It's always a two-sided sword, right? It's like what happened with that basketballer, right? Griner or something, and they swapped the Lord of War. Right? You ever watch that movie, The Lord of War? Or The God of War, Lord of War, with Nicolas Cage? It was based on the person that they swapped that
these exchanges
that lady for, or don't even know she's a lady, but Brittany Griner, right? They swapped the Lord of War, Russian war criminal, like who's selling weapons to both sides in Africa, and they swapped a foreigner smoking dope or weed, whatever, in Russia. Right? There's what I'm talking about, like foreigners behaving badly in overseas. Now, that everybody around the world thought that was the worst thing that they could have done, right? Like switching a basketballer. Might have taught him, like, if it was me, I would have been like, nah, I don't want anybody. Throw in the prison, teach us some lesson. We don't take that sort of shit here, trying to flout our laws. But no. Harris Biden wanted to release a war criminal for a basketballer. Really shows you what the leftist Democrats think about when it comes to life and importance of sanctity of life. Really, I mean, of course, we know they don't think much of it, but switching a war criminal for a basketballer who actually hates their own country. Yeah, cool. Anyway, so that's it. I'm going to put the link in there. You guys can watch the rest of it. I've gone longer than I needed to go today and expected to go today. But thank you for checking it out. I've put the link for the rest of the video so you can find out for yourself more. The reason I do that, as always, is that you guys can check the information out for yourself. Right? But thank you, all of you who thank you for coming in and checking out my channel. Please do subscribe, do share, like, all that, algorithm thing. But also, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. It's really cool to talk to people, right? Even if you guys are not conversing with me or anything, when I see that, I go, yeah, I'm actually getting people, not getting views, but I'm actually getting people at the same time watching me, so I can, it's like I'm not speaking a wall, right? even though I'm speaking to the freaking wall of the, but you know what I mean, right? So thank you for that. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe. It helps me out. I want to try to get to 500 sometime, because that'll allow me to, get on that little homepage thing. Because at the moment, it's like if you go, unless you get notifications from me, you never will. Right? Unless you subscribe to me, you never get a notification. So, it's not like I'm that big a name or anything, not even anything really, more like a dust in the whole speck of things. But it'll help me out lots. And thank you. And I really appreciate it. So wherever you are, be well, be safe, have an awesome day, night, evening. Right now it's about 5 o'clock, or is it? Yeah, exactly 5 o'clock New Zealand time, middle of summer. We're going to even hotter and hotter. It's great. I don't know how it is where you are, but man, enjoy your day and have an awesome weekend. It's Saturday, by the way, for us here in New Zealand. So I live in the future. As far as I'm concerned, the future is bright. Have an awesome day. Ka kite anō. See you later. And please leave a comment if you got anything to comment on. And I hope that you do. Thank you. And I'll try to reply. Catch ya.